In the dry dark of the desert floor, between stones still warm from a sun long gone, something is waiting. It does not move. It does not breathe the way you breathe. It has carried the same weapon unchanged since before the first tree grew, before the first dinosaur drew breath. And yet, after 400 million years, after every extinction that erased nearly everything else, it is still here, still waiting, still armed. This is the scorpion. Tonight the camera goes down to its level, to the cracks in the rock, the cold of the burrow, the glow it gives off in a light the human eye was never built to see. We will watch it hunt without moving. We will look inside a body designed in an age the world has forgotten. And we will ask the question that 400 million years keeps asking back: how does something so ancient, so simple, so deadly refuse to die? Let's begin where the fear begins. With the sting in the dark. The scorpion does not belong to our age. It belongs to an older one. When the first scorpions crawled out of ancient seas and onto bare stone, there were no flowers, no birds, no mammals, nothing that walks the earth today. And already, even then, it carried venom. Think about what that means. The chemistry curled inside that tail is not a recent invention. It is one of the oldest weapons still in use anywhere on the planet. Older than fangs, older than claws as we know them, older than the spider's bite. Across hundreds of millions of years, whole kingdoms of life have risen and vanished, and the scorpion kept its sting, barely changing it because it never needed to. Picture a tool so well made that 400 million years of trial and error could not improve it. That is the scorpion's venom. Up close, under a slow lens, the tail arches with a patience that feels almost deliberate. It is not rushing. It has never had to rush. Scientists who study venom evolution still marvel at how early, how fully formed this system appears in the fossil and chemical record. The scorpion did not grow into a predator over the ages. It arrived as one. And it has been one without pause while continents drifted and oceans opened and the sky itself filled with new kinds of life. The weapon came first. Everything else is just the long, unbroken story of it working. Every year, somewhere in the warm parts of the world, scorpions kill more than 1,000 people. The true number is almost certainly higher. Many deaths happen in remote places, far from hospitals, far from anyone keeping count. Set that beside the shark, which kills perhaps 12 people a year, and the scale shifts into something hard to hold. The animal that terrifies us from the water takes a handful of lives. The animal under the doorstep takes thousands. Most of the danger is concentrated in regions where homes are open to the night, and medical help is hours away. Parts of North Africa, the Middle East, Mexico, India, South America. There, a sting is not a rare horror story. It is a seasonal fact of life. Researchers estimate well over 1 million scorpion stings happen every single year. The vast majority are survived, but the ones that aren't fall hardest on the smallest and the oldest on bodies with the least margin to spare. From a wide shot, you would never see the threat at all, just quiet villages, warm nights, ordinary ground. The danger lives in the gap between how small the animal is and how much harm it carries. A creature you could hide under a coin, responsible for a death toll that rivals far larger, far louder predators. It does not hunt us. We are not its prey. We simply share its ground, and sometimes in the dark a foot finds it first. Among roughly 2,500 known species of scorpion, most cannot seriously harm a healthy adult. But a small handful can, and at the front of that handful stands one with a name that needs no translation: the Deathstalker. Pale, yellow, slender, almost delicate looking, it haunts the deserts of North Africa and the Middle East. It does not look like the deadliest of its kind. That is part of the danger. Its venom is a concentrated storm of neurotoxins, drop for drop, among the most potent produced by any scorpion on Earth. In a healthy adult, a sting brings waves of pain, racing, heart surging, blood pressure. In a child without fast treatment, it can be fatal. Hold it in the frame and the death stalker seems almost fragile. Thin pincers, a body the color of dry sand, a tail held in a light curve. Nothing about it advertises what it carries. And yet, milligram for milligram, few animals anywhere concentrate so much lethal chemistry into so small a package. There is a strange irony coiled inside this one. The same venom that makes the Death Stalker so feared is now among the most valuable liquids on the planet, studied, mapped, and chased by medical researchers for what it might one day heal. We will return to that. For now, hold only this: the most dangerous scorpion alive is also one of the most ordinary looking. The desert does not warn you. It simply waits pale and patient in the heat. Scorpion venom does not work the way a wound works. It is not crude damage. It is precision sabotage aimed straight at the body's wiring. The toxins target the tiny gates in your nerve cells, the channels that open and close to fire every signal you send. Venom jams those gates. Some it forces open, some it locks shut. And in that instant, the language your body uses to speak to itself begins to break down. Nerves fire when they shouldn't. Muscles seize, twitch, refuse commands. The heart can race or stumble. In severe cases, the very nerves that drive breathing start to fail. This is what makes neurotoxic venom so frightening. It does not need to destroy much tissue to be deadly. It only needs to scramble the signals. Picture a control room where every switch suddenly flips at random, all at once, with no one able to stop it. That is what the venom does inside the nervous system. The scorpion evolved this not for us but for prey to drop an insect instantly before it can flee or fight. A jammed nervous system means a paralyzed meal. Against a small target, the effect is near instant. Against a human, the dose is usually too small to overwhelm a healthy adult, but in the vulnerable, the same mechanism that stills a cricket can threaten a life. Scientists have spent decades teasing apart exactly which toxin hits which channel, and the map is still incomplete. Each species carries its own blend, its own signature. Hundreds of molecular keys, each cut for a specific lock in the machinery of the nerve. At the very tip of the tail sits the telson, the bulb, and the barb, the business end of the entire animal. It is not a blunt spike. It is a precision instrument. The sharp curved point, called the oculeus, is hard, smooth, and needle-fine, built to pierce the shell of an insect or the skin of a threat in a single clean stroke. Behind it sit two venom glands, each with its own muscle, each with its own duct running to the tip. When the scorpion strikes, those muscles squeeze and the venom is pushed through, delivered exactly where the point lands. Up close under magnification, the telson looks almost machined, a teardrop of armor, ending in a barb honed to a perfect curve. Nothing about it is wasteful. And here is the quiet genius of it: the scorpion aims. The tail is fast, flexible and under fine control, arcing over the body to place the sting with deliberate precision rather than blind luck. The strike can come in a fraction of a second, faster than you can pull your hand away. Then the tail resets, ready again. Some species can sting repeatedly without pause, each strike metering out its own measured dose. Watch it from the side, and the motion has an unsettling economy. No wasted movement, no hesitation. The tail rises, the point finds its mark, the venom flows, the tail returns. A delivery system refined across hundreds of millions of years until every part of it does exactly one thing, and does it without fail. The wait can last hours. The strike lasts a heartbeat. A scorpion may sit utterly still through an entire night, tail loosely curled, conserving every scrap of energy. And then, when prey wanders close enough, the stillness ends in an instant. The tail snaps over the body and drives the sting home faster than the human eye can cleanly follow. Stand close enough, and the motion is less a movement than a flicker, there then done. This is the paradox at the center of the animal. It is one of the most patient hunters alive and one of the fastest strikers, and it is both at once. The patience is the strategy. The speed is the payoff. For a small creature on a tight energy budget, the strike has to be quick, because a slow strike is a missed meal, and a missed meal it cannot easily afford. Researchers measuring the motion have clocked the fastest scorpion strikes among the quicker movements in the arachnid world, the tail covering its arc in well under 1/10 of a second in some species. To the cricket in its path, there is no warning and no time. One moment it is walking across open ground. The next, the point is already in. From above, in slow motion, you can finally see what real time hides, the tail uncoiling like a released spring, the barb arriving before the prey has registered the threat. Then the legs go still. The hunt that took all night to set up is over, in less time than it takes to blink. A scorpion's venom is not a single substance. It is a chemical arsenal. Inside one droplet, a volume smaller than a grain of rice, there can be hundreds of distinct compounds, each one a separate tool with a separate job. Some target nerves, some target muscle, some break down tissue, some thin or thicken blood, some exist only to help the others reach deeper, faster. It is less like a poison and more like a coordinated attack, many weapons firing together, and the blend is not random. Each species carries its own recipe, tuned by hundreds of millions of years of evolution to its own prey, its own predators, its own corner of the world. Change the scorpion, and you change the formula. Researchers who study these venoms describe finding new, never-before-seen molecules almost every time they look closely at a new species. The library is enormous, and most of its pages are still unread. Picture a single drop holding more distinct active ingredients than an entire pharmacy shelf. That is the order of complexity we are talking about. Up close, that drop looks like nothing at all, clear, faintly sticky beading at the tip of the barb. Its danger is entirely invisible. Scientists still debate exactly why scorpions invest in such staggering chemical variety when a simpler venom might seem to do the job. One leading idea is an arms race, prey and predators, evolving resistance, the scorpion answering with new compounds, the two locked in a chemical chase across deep time. The drop is small. The chemistry inside it is almost beyond counting. There are stings, and then there is this. For the most dangerous species, those who survive describe a pain that does not behave like ordinary pain. It does not stay where the sting landed. It travels, radiating up a limb, settling deep in the bone, returning in waves long after the wound itself is nothing more than a pinprick. Some describe a burning. Some describe a sensation closer to electricity, the affected nerves firing again and again with nothing to fire about. That last detail is the key to it. The venom is built to torment the nervous system, and pain is the nervous system's own language, so the venom in a sense speaks directly in agony. It does not merely hurt the body, it hijacks the very system the body uses to feel. With certain species, the pain arrives in pulses for hours, cresting and fading and cresting again, the nerves refusing to settle. Even where the sting is rarely fatal, the experience can be severe enough to send a grown adult to the hospital simply to escape it. There is a grim joke among those who work with these animals that the venom will not always kill you, but for a while you may wish it would. Hold the image in a tight frame, a barb so fine it leaves almost no mark, a wound you could miss entirely, and behind it a flood of sensation out of all proportion to the size of the thing that caused it. The smallest of injuries, among the largest of pains. The scorpion's venom is for most healthy adults a brutal experience, but a survivable one. The real danger falls on the smallest and the oldest. A child's body is the cruelest mismatch. The same dose that a grown adult can endure is spread through far less mass, hitting a smaller heart, smaller lungs, a nervous system with far less margin to absorb the shock. What leaves an adult in pain can push a young child into crisis. Across the regions where the deadliest species live, the overwhelming majority of fatal stings are children, often very young ones, stung in or near the home, sometimes in their sleep. The elderly carry a different vulnerability. Aging hearts, weakened lungs, and existing illness leave less room to weather the chemical storm. For them too, what a strong adult survives can become a genuine threat. This is the quiet arithmetic of scorpion danger. It is not really about the toughness of the venom alone, but about who it lands on. The wide shot is a warm village at night, ordinary and calm. The danger is invisible until it finds the one body least able to withstand it. Public health workers in high-risk regions know exactly where to aim their warnings. Protect the young, watch the old, keep the floor and the bedding clear after dark. Anti-venom, where it exists, is rushed first to the small. Because the scorpion does not choose its victims. It strikes whatever crosses its path. And the tragedy is simply that the body it happens to strike is so often the one with the least to spare. In the humid corners of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Nepal lives a scorpion that by some measures may be the most dangerous on earth. The Indian red scorpion. It is not large. It is not particularly fearsome to look at a reddish-brown body, modest pincers, easy to mistake for something harmless. But its venom carries one of the highest fatality rates of any scorpion when a serious sting goes untreated. The cruelty of it lies in where it lives. This is not a remote desert animal. It thrives near people, in farmland, in villages, in the cracks of rural homes, exactly where children play and sleep. Encounters are common, and the venom is severe. In its worst stings, the toxin can drive the body into a state where the lungs begin to flood, fluid pooling where air should be, the heart struggling against the chemical surge. Without care, that path can turn fatal, and it has for many young victims across generations. There is at least a thread of hope woven through this one. Doctors in India have refined treatments that have dramatically cut the death rate. A particular drug that counters the venom's effect on the heart and circulation, turning a once frequent killer into something far more survivable. When help arrives in time, hold the animal in the frame, small, dull-colored, unremarkable, the kind of thing you might brush off a wall without a second thought. And understand that for the families who share their homes with it, it has long been one of the most feared creatures in the country. Most scorpions keep to the ground. The bark scorpion does not. It climbs. Native to the deserts of the American Southwest and northern Mexico, it is the most dangerous scorpion on the continent, and its habits put it squarely in the path of people. Slender, pale, and small enough to perch on a fingertip, it scales walls, ceilings, trees, and the rough bark that gives it its name. It can hang upside down without effort. It slips through gaps as thin as a credit card, and unlike its ground-bound relatives, it is just as comfortable above your head as beneath your feet. That climbing instinct is exactly what makes it dangerous to humans. It finds its way indoors, into homes, into the folds of clothing, into bedding, into the dark of a shoe left by the door. Its venom is potent neurotoxin in adults, intense pain, numbness, muscle spasms, and a strange, unsettling jerking of the eyes and limbs. In small children without treatment, it can turn life-threatening. Here is the detail that unsettles people most. Switch on an ultraviolet light in a desert home at night, and the bark scorpion answers its body, glowing a cold blue-green in the dark, sometimes from places you would never have thought to look. On the wall, on the ceiling, just above where you sleep. There is good news threaded through the fear. An effective anti-venom has made deaths extremely rare in the United States today. But the bark scorpion remains the one species in North America that earns genuine caution, small, pale, patient, and perfectly willing to share your walls. Venom is expensive. It takes time and energy to produce, and once it is spent, the scorpion is left less armed until the supply rebuilds. So the animal does not waste it. It meters it. A scorpion can control how much venom it injects with each sting and whether it injects any at all. A defensive jab at something far too large to eat may carry little or none. A strike at difficult prey may deliver a measured dose, just enough to subdue and no more. This control runs deep. Many species produce two different fluids. The first is a clear, milder prevenom, cheaper to make, used as an opening shot, often enough to settle small prey on its own. Only if that fails does the scorpion commit the costly, complex venom that follows. It is a graded response, escalating only as needed, conserving the expensive weapon for when it truly matters. Think of it as a hunter, with a limited number of rounds, choosing with care when to fire and when to hold. Scientists studying this behavior have watched scorpions deliberately adjust their output to the threat in front of them, more for a struggling meal, less for an easy one, holding back where a dry sting will do. From the outside, the strikes look identical. The difference is invisible, decided inside the glands in the instant before the barb lands. It is a quiet kind of intelligence written not in the brain but in the body, an animal that understands at some deep evolutionary level that its deadliest asset is also its most precious, and that survival means never spending more of it than the moment demands. The most dangerous scorpion venoms do something stranger and more insidious than simple poisoning. They turn the body against itself. By jamming the nervous system's signaling, the venom can trigger a massive, uncontrolled release of the body's own messenger chemicals. Adrenaline and others like it dumped into the bloodstream all at once, in quantities the body would never normally produce. This is what doctors sometimes call an autonomic storm. The system that quietly governs heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, and temperature is suddenly screaming on every channel at once. The heart races, then falters. Blood pressure spikes to dangerous heights. The body may sweat, shake, salivate uncontrollably. In the gravest cases, the lungs begin to fill with fluid, and the heart, whipped beyond its limits, starts to fail. The horror of it is that the venom does relatively little direct damage on its own. It does not need to. It simply pulls the triggers and lets the body do the harm, turning its own survival chemistry into the weapon. Picture a building where no fire has been set, but every alarm is blaring, every sprinkler firing, every system overloading until the structure tears itself apart. That is the autonomic storm. Understanding this changed how doctors treat severe stings. The most effective therapies do not just neutralize the venom, they calm the storm, blocking the flood of the body's own chemicals before it can do its damage. It is a reminder of how these toxins truly work. The scorpion does not bring much poison to the fight. It brings a key and uses the body's own power against it. When a serious sting lands on a small body, the clock starts. Antivenom is the answer, but answering in time is the hard part. The treatment itself is a marvel built on an old idea. Venom is milked from living scorpions, drop by drop, injected in tiny doses into animals like horses or sheep, and the immune system of those animals builds antibodies against it. Those antibodies are then harvested, purified, and turned into the serum that can pull a stung child back from the edge. It works. Where it reaches victims quickly, deaths fall sharply. The trouble is reach. The deadliest scorpions live in exactly the places where antivenom is hardest to deliver. Remote villages, poor regions, homes, hours from the nearest clinic with a refrigerator stocked and ready. The serum must be kept cold. It must be matched more or less to the local species. And it must arrive before the venom has done its worst, which can be a window of only a few hours. That is the race. Not against the scorpion, which is long gone, but against time, distance, and circumstance. Researchers are working on newer, cheaper, more stable treatments, including engineered antibodies that might one day need no refrigeration at all. From a wide view, the picture is a strange one, a creature unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, met by some of the most sophisticated biology humans have ever devised. The two meeting at a bedside in the dark. The scorpion brings an ancient weapon. We answer with a modern one, and between them lies a child and a few short hours. The tail gets the attention, but the hunt often begins with the hands. Before the sting ever falls, a scorpion seizes its target with its pincers, the pedipalps, two armored claws built to grab, crush, and hold. For much of the catching, these come first. The scorpion lunges the pincers close, and the prey is locked in place. What happens next depends on the prey. The pincers alone may finish the job, crushing and tearing without the tail ever entering the fight. Venom saved, energy spared. Only if the prey is large, strong, or dangerous does the tail arc over to deliver the sting, pinning the struggle with chemistry where muscle alone won't hold. This is why the pincers are such a good measure of a scorpion's strategy. As a broad rule among many species, the ones with large, heavy pincers tend to rely on crushing power and carry milder venom. The ones with thin, delicate pincers tend to carry the deadliest venom of all because they cannot win by strength, so they win by poison. The deathstalker, slender-clawed, is exactly this kind of killer. Up close, the grip is relentless. The claws do not tire and do not loosen, holding the prey steady while the scorpion decides how much force the moment requires. From the prey's side, there is no leverage, no escape, only the slow understanding that the grip will not break. The sting, when it comes, is almost an afterthought, the final word in a fight that the hands had already won. The scorpion does not seek us out. It has no interest in us at all. But it loves what our homes provide, and that is where the danger truly lies. A scorpion wants what most desert creatures want, somewhere dark, somewhere cool, somewhere tight and sheltered from the heat and from predators. A human house offers all of it in abundance. The fold of a blanket, the cool, dark hollow of a shoe left overnight on the floor. To a scorpion, these are not human objects. They are perfect crevices, exactly the kind of refuge it would seek under a rock or a slab of bark. So it moves in quietly, asking nothing, and then a foot slides into the shoe. A body rolls over in the night and meets the one thing in the blanket that strikes back. Almost every serious sting happens not in the wild but in this accidental collision, human and scorpion, neither hunting the other, meeting by pure misfortune in the dark. This is why people in scorpion country learn the rituals early. Shake out the shoes before morning. Check the bedding. Keep a light handy. Never reach blindly into a dark space. Stand in such a house at night, switch on an ultraviolet lamp, and the unsettling truth glows back at you. Pale shapes on the wall in the corner, sometimes far too close. They were always there. You simply could not see them. The scorpion is not invading. From its point of view, it has only found a very good crack to wait in. The tragedy is that the crack is ours. The most frightening thing about a scorpion is what it does not do. It does not buzz. It does not hiss. It does not announce itself the way so many dangerous animals do. A rattlesnake rattles. A wasp drones. A large predator can be heard moving through brush. The scorpion offers none of this. It moves on 8 legs across sand and stone in near-perfect silence. Light enough to leave barely a trace, slow enough to disturb nothing. More often, it simply waits, already settled in the dark, already in the shoe, already on the wall while you approach it. The collision happens on its terms, not because it hunts you, but because it holds still and lets the world come to it. This is the quiet horror at the center of the animal. The scorpion gives you nothing. By the time you know it is there, the barb is usually already in. Stand in a desert at night and listen. And the silence itself becomes the threat, because somewhere in that silence, motionless, patient, perfectly quiet, something is waiting, and it will not make a sound until it is far too late to matter. The animal that kills more people than the shark does it without ever being heard. No rattle, no warning, just the dark and the stillness and the sudden silent point. A scorpion is small. Its prey is often small too. Crickets, beetles, spiders, the modest creatures of the desert night. But the venom carries a power far out of proportion to the body that delivers it, and a scorpion can drop targets it has no business overpowering by strength alone. Some species take on prey several times their own size, large insects, other scorpions, even small lizards and rodents. By muscle, the scorpion would lose those fights. By venom, it does not have to fight at all. The chemistry does the work that the body cannot. A measured dose to the right place and a creature far larger than the scorpion simply stops, nerves jammed, muscles seized, the struggle ending before it can begin. This is the entire logic of venom as a weapon. It is the great equalizer, letting a small, slow, soft-bodied animal punch enormously above its weight. Without it, the scorpion would be limited to prey it could physically dominate. With it, the menu opens wide. Watch a scorpion take down a meal larger than itself, and the asymmetry is striking, the prey thrashing powerful. Clearly the stronger of the two by every visible measure. And then, in moments going still anyway, the strength never mattered. Only the chemistry did. This is why the scorpion never needed to grow large or fast or powerful to thrive. It invested everything in the venom instead, and the venom repaid it across hundreds of millions of years. A small hunter carrying a weapon that erases the advantage of size. In the dark, weight and muscle count for little. The drop at the tip of the tail counts for everything. Long before anyone understood venom or nervous systems, humans feared the scorpion, and that fear is written deep into our oldest stories. It crawls through ancient myth on nearly every continent the animal touches. In old Egypt, there was a goddess crowned with a scorpion called on to protect and to heal the very stings her creatures could inflict. In Greek myth, a scorpion was sent to kill the great hunter Orion, and the two were set in the sky forever, the hunter and the scorpion fixed among the stars, eternally chasing. That constellation Scorpius still wheels overhead tonight, a fear made permanent in the heavens. The scorpion appears in scripture as a symbol of torment in folklore, as an emblem of treachery and the hidden sting. In art and language across the ages, as the thing that waits and strikes without warning. No other small creature has burned itself so thoroughly into the human imagination. And the fascinating part is how consistent the fear is. Cultures separated by oceans and thousands of years, who never met and never spoke, all arrived at the same instinct that this small armored creature, with its raised tail and patient stillness, is to be watched, respected and feared. That instinct is not superstition. It is hard-won memory, the accumulated experience of countless generations who shared their nights with the animal and learned the hard way what it could do. We inherited that caution. It sits in us still, the quiet flinch at the curved tail, the raised hands, the silent shape in the dark, an ancient fear of an ancient thing. Look at a scorpion, and you are looking at a design that has barely been touched in 400 million years. 8 walking legs, 2 grasping pincers held out front, a segmented tail curling over the back ending in the sting. It is a blueprint drawn in an age the world has forgotten, the Paleozoic, when life was still figuring out how to live on land at all, and it has needed almost no revision since. Most animals, you know, are recent experiments by comparison. Mammals, birds, flowering plants, the familiar furniture of the living world. All of it arrived long after the scorpion's body plan was already finished and working. The scorpion did not evolve to keep pace with the changing world. The world changed around a creature that had already found its answer. Every part of that body has a logic that has held for eons. The pincers reach and seize. The legs carry the body low and stable across rough ground. The tail arcs the venom up and over into whatever the pincers hold. Nothing is decorative. Nothing is left over. It is a complete tool. And it was complete an unimaginably long time ago. Hold a scorpion in the frame beside the fossil of one that lived hundreds of millions of years before, and the resemblance is uncanny. You would struggle to tell the ancient one from the living one. The same segments, the same claws, the same raised tail. That is the strange truth at the heart of the animal. It is the past, still walking, still hunting, still here, a working machine from a vanished age that simply never needed to be replaced. A scorpion can have as many as 12 eyes, and with all of them it still barely sees. The arrangement is strange to our way of thinking. A pair of larger eyes sits on top of the head facing up and out. Then along the front edges several smaller eyes are clustered on each side, a scatter of simple lenses studding the body. By the count, the scorpion is richly equipped for vision. By the reality, it is nearly blind in any sense we would recognize. Those many eyes do not build a sharp picture of the world. They cannot resolve fine detail, cannot track a clear image, cannot show the scorpion the shape of what is in front of it. What they do extraordinarily well. They sense light. Some scorpion eyes are among the most sensitive to dim light found anywhere in the animal kingdom, able to register the faint glow of starlight, the change from shadow to moonlight, the subtle shift of dusk into full dark. For a creature that lives and hunts by night, this matters far more than sharp vision ever could. The scorpion does not need to see its prey. It needs to know when night has fallen, when it is safe to emerge, when the light is low enough to hunt. The eyes are not for forming pictures, they are for reading the sky. And here lies the first deep strangeness of the scorpion's body, an animal with a dozen eyes that does not truly rely on any of them to find its food. The seeing happens elsewhere. The eyes watch the heavens. The hunting is done by other senses entirely. If the eyes barely see, how does a scorpion find anything in the dark? The answer is that it does not see with its eyes at all. It senses with its entire body. A scorpion's surface is covered in an array of exquisitely fine detectors. Tiny hairs read the faintest movement of air. Slit-shaped organs set into the leg joints feel vibration passing through the ground. Specialized sensors taste and smell the chemistry of the world around it. The whole animal is in effect one large sensory organ, gathering information from every direction at once, building a picture of its surroundings out of touch, tremor, and scent rather than light. This is a way of experiencing the world almost impossible for us to imagine. We are creatures of vision. We trust our eyes above everything. The scorpion lives in a different reality entirely, one made of pressure waves through sand, of trembling air, of chemical traces hanging in the dark. To the scorpion, a beetle crossing the ground a body length away is not a shape to be seen, but a pattern of vibrations to be felt arriving at each leg at a slightly different instant. From that, it knows the prey is there, knows roughly where, and knows when to strike all without a single clear image. Picture standing in total darkness and knowing precisely that something small is walking toward you across the floor, its direction, its distance, its movement, purely by what you can feel rising through your feet and skin. That is the scorpion's ordinary night. It does not see the world. It feels it completely with a body built from end to listen. On the underside of every scorpion hangs a pair of organs found in no other animal on Earth. They are called pectines, from the word for comb, because that is exactly what they look like. Two delicate tooth-edged combs mounted beneath the body, sweeping just above the ground as the scorpion walks. They are unique to scorpions. No other living creature has anything quite like them, and they are one of the most important sensory tools the animal possesses. The teeth of these combs are packed with thousands of tiny sensors, and as the scorpion moves, the pectines brush and tap against the surface below, reading it. They taste the ground. They feel its texture. They detect chemical traces left behind by prey, by predators, and crucially by other scorpions. A male searching for a mate reads the chemistry of the ground through his pectines, following the invisible signature a female has left in the sand. They may also sense fine vibration and help the scorpion judge the terrain itself, whether the surface is right for digging, for hunting, for laying down the delicate work of courtship. Picture a creature dragging two sensitive combs across the desert floor, gathering a constant stream of information from the dust itself. A sense of taste and touch fused into one, pointed straight down at the world beneath its feet. We have no equivalent. There is nothing in human experience like reading the ground with a comb. It is one of the features that makes the scorpion feel less like an animal we know and more like something from another design, entirely ancient, alien, and built to sense the earth in a way nothing else ever has. Open up a scorpion in the careful way a scientist would, and you find an organ that looks nothing like a lung as we know it. It is called a book lung, and the name is perfect. Inside the body sit stacks of thin, flat membranes layered over one another, like the pages of a book with narrow spaces of air between each leaf. Air enters through tiny slits in the underside, seeps into those gaps, and oxygen passes across the thin pages into the blood. There is no breathing in and out, as we do no expanding chest, no rhythm of inhale and exhale. The book lung is still passive, a quiet exchange happening across delicate, stacked sheets. And here is the astonishing part. This design is ancient, almost beyond comprehension. Book lungs are among the oldest air-breathing structures known, and they appear in some of the very first animals that ever ventured from water onto land. The scorpion has carried essentially this same organ since those earliest days of life ashore. One of the original solutions to the problem of breathing air kept unchanged, while nearly every other lineage went on to build something new. It is wonderfully efficient for the scorpion's slow, patient life. It loses very little moisture, which matters enormously in the desert, and it asks for very little energy, which suits an animal that may sit motionless for days. Picture a set of fragile pages stacked in the dark of the body, drinking oxygen from still air across hundreds of millions of years. The scorpion breathes the way the first land animals breathed. In a single, small body, it carries one of the oldest working answers to the most basic question of life on land: how to take the air and keep on living. The desert kills by drying. Heat pulls water from anything living until nothing is left, and most creatures cannot survive the slow theft. The scorpion can, and a great part of how lies in its skin. A scorpion wears its skeleton on the outside. The exoskeleton is a hard, armored shell that gives the body its shape and protection, but its most important job in the desert is sealing water in. The outermost layer is coated in a fine, waxy film, and that wax is the secret. It makes the shell nearly waterproof from the inside out, trapping precious moisture within the body and refusing to let the dry air draw it away. This is why a scorpion can endure conditions that would desiccate almost anything else. It is sealed. The same armor that turns a predator's bite also turns the relentless pull of the heat. Combine that watertight shell with the slow, moisture-sparing book lungs and a digestive system tuned to waste almost nothing, and you have an animal built from the surface inward to hold every drop it has. Some scorpions can survive for months on the water, locked inside their own bodies, and the trace moisture in their prey never drinking at all. Picture a creature sealed in wax-coated armor, walking across ground hot enough to crack stone, losing water so slowly it barely loses any. That is the scorpion's quiet genius for survival. It does not fight the desert. It simply refuses to give the desert what it wants. The shell holds, the water stays, and the animal endures, sealed against a world that is forever trying to dry it out of existence. Here is the strangest thing the scorpion does, and it does it without trying. Shine ultraviolet light on a scorpion in the dark and the entire animal lights up. Not a dull reflection, a vivid, cold, blue-green glow, the whole body shining as though lit from within, a ghostly outline burning against the black. Every scorpion does it, from the giant to the tiny, across the species. The glow is nearly universal. The cause lies in the exoskeleton. Certain compounds built into the outer layer of the shell absorb invisible ultraviolet light and throw it back out as visible color. It is true fluorescence, the same physics that makes certain minerals glow in a museum's dark room here, wrapped around a living, walking animal. Curiously, a freshly molted scorpion, its new shell not yet hardened, barely glows at all. The fluorescence builds as the cuticle matures, locked into the very structure of the armor. This single feature has changed everything about how we find them. Researchers and desert dwellers alike walk the night with ultraviolet lamps, and scorpions that would otherwise be utterly invisible flare up like cold sparks against the ground, on the sand, up the walls, clinging to the bark of trees. A landscape that seemed empty turns out to be quietly full. But knowing how the scorpion glows is not the same as knowing why. That question, what the glow is for, whether it serves the animal at all, or whether it is simply an accident of an ancient chemistry, remains genuinely open, and it is where we turn next. We know exactly how a scorpion glows. We have no idea why. It is one of the genuine mysteries of the animal, a feature so universal, so striking, that it ought to have an obvious purpose, and yet every explanation runs into trouble. Scientists still debate it openly, and no single answer has won. One idea is that the glow helps scorpions find each other in the dark, a beacon for mating, a way to recognize their own kind. But scorpions sense the world mostly through touch and chemistry, and their eyes can barely form an image, which makes a visual signal hard to explain. Another idea turns it around entirely, that the scorpion uses its whole glowing body as a kind of light detector. Perhaps the fluorescence converts faint ultraviolet light from the night sky into a signal the animal can sense across its surface, helping it judge how much light is out there and decide whether to stay hidden or come out to hunt. There is even a theory that the glow is no use to the scorpion at all, that it is simply a side effect of the chemistry of the shell, an accident of how the cuticle is built, signifying nothing, and a stranger possibility still that the glow might actually harm the scorpion by making it visible to predators with ultraviolet vision, a flaw the animal carries because the benefit, whatever it is, outweighs the cost. The honest truth is that after all our study we do not know. A creature hundreds of millions of years old, lighting up the desert night in a color it may not even be able to see for a reason it has never told us. A scorpion does not bleed red. Wound one and what seeps out runs pale, milky, faintly blue. The reason reaches all the way down into the chemistry of how the animal carries oxygen. Our blood is red because it uses iron to ferry oxygen, iron that turns scarlet when it binds to air. The scorpion uses something different. Its oxygen carrier is built around copper instead of iron and copper. When it bonds with oxygen, turns not red but blue. So the fluid that moves through a scorpion's body, properly called hemolymph, not blood, shifts toward a pale blue when it is carrying oxygen and runs nearly colorless when it is not. The differences run deeper than color. The scorpion has no closed network of veins and arteries the way we do. Instead, the hemolymph sloshes freely through open spaces inside the body, bathing the organs directly pushed along by a simple tube-shaped heart. It is an older, looser plumbing than ours, no sealed circuit, just a body cavity flooded with pale blue fluid that carries oxygen, food, and the means of healing wherever the body needs them. That same copper-based chemistry is shared by other ancient creatures, horseshoe crabs, certain spiders, relatives that branched off in the deep past. It is a mark of old lineage, a signature of life that solved the problem of breathing long before iron-rich red blood became the common answer. Picture a creature whose insides are washed not in red but in pale copper-blue fluid, drifting through open chambers, lit faintly through translucent armor. It is one more way the scorpion feels like a visitor from another design of life, alien, down to the color of the fluid that keeps it alive. Watch a scorpion walk, and something looks subtly wrong in a way that is hard to name at first. The legs move with a strange, deliberate, almost mechanical quality, and there is a reason. A scorpion does not move its legs the way you move yours. We have muscles that both pull a limb in and push it back out, working in opposing pairs. A scorpion's legs are only half built that way. It has muscles to fold a leg inward, but to extend the leg back out, it often relies not on muscle at all, but on fluid pressure. The scorpion pushes hemolymph into the leg, and the pressure forces the joint to straighten like fluid driving a piston. The animal walks in part by pumping fluid through its limbs. This is hydraulic movement, the same principle that powers heavy machinery, here driving the legs of a living creature. It is efficient in its own way, but it has consequences. It is one reason scorpions can move in sudden jerky bursts rather than smooth strides, and one reason a scorpion low on fluid, dehydrated or freshly injured can struggle to move well at all. Legs. It also helps explain a famous vulnerability. When a scorpion molts shedding its old shell, its new body is soft and its hydraulics are not yet firm, leaving it barely able to move until everything sets. Picture an animal that walks not purely by muscle but by plumbing fluid, surging into each leg to push it straight, then draining back as the leg folds. It is an ancient solution shared with spiders and their kin, and it gives the scorpion's gait that faintly uncanny quality. Half muscle, half hydraulics, all strange. Find a scorpion's heart, and it is not where you would look. It is not a compact fist in the chest. It is a long, slender tube running nearly the whole length of the body, lying just beneath the upper surface, stretched out from front to back. This is a different kind of heart entirely. Along its length sit a series of small openings, paired valves spaced down the tube. As the heart contracts in waves, it draws the pale blue hemolymph in through these openings and pushes it forward, sending the fluid out to wash through the open spaces of the body. There is no tight circuit, no network of sealed vessels carrying blood to every corner and back. The heart simply pumps the fluid out into the body cavity, where it flows around the organs directly before draining back to be pumped again. It is an open system, ancient and simple, and the long tube heart is perfectly suited to it. Spread along the body the way it is, the heart can move fluid through a low, elongated creature, efficiently keeping the whole length of the animal supplied. It beats slowly in a resting scorpion, fitting for a creature that may sit motionless for days, asking almost nothing of itself. Picture a heart, not as a knot of muscle, but as a long, pulsing channel running the length of the back, drawing fluid in through little doors along its sides and driving it gently forward. It is the kind of design that vanished from most of the animals we know, replaced by tighter, faster plumbing. In the scorpion, it still runs an old heart, stretched the length of an old body, beating quietly in the dark. A scorpion's body is covered in hairs, and they are not for warmth or show. They are instruments. Set into the surface of the legs, the pincers, and the body are countless fine sensory hairs, each one wired to the nervous system. Each one a detector tuned to the faintest disturbance. Some respond to movement in the air, the tiny pressure waves pushed ahead of a flying insect, the stir of something passing close in the dark. The hairs bend by an amount too small to imagine, and the scorpion feels it. Others, working alongside slit-shaped organs in the legs, read vibration traveling through the ground itself, the footfall of prey crossing the sand arriving as a tremor through the surface. Together, these sensors give the scorpion a reach far beyond its barely seeing eyes. It can detect a beetle walking nearby, purely from the air. Its body disturbs and the ground, its steps shake, and it can do more than just detect it, because the hairs and slit organs are spread across the body and legs. A vibration reaches each leg at a slightly different instant, and from those tiny differences in timing, the scorpion works out direction. It knows not only that prey is there, but where. This is the machinery behind the hunter that does not need to see. A web of hairs and slits reading the trembling of air and earth, feeding a constant stream of touch into the nervous system, painting the dark in tremors. Stand close enough to watch, and you would see nothing happen, no twitch, no sign, and yet the scorpion already knows you are there, has already felt the air you moved and the ground you crossed, long before you imagined it could sense a thing. We call it a tail. It is not one. The long, segmented tail of a scorpion, arcing over its back to the sting, is properly called the metasoma. And it is not a tail in any sense we would mean by the word. It is a part of the abdomen stretched and narrowed into that distinctive curving form, carrying the animal's own digestive tract running right through the middle of it. The scorpion's gut extends into this so-called tail. So when the metasoma rises and strikes, the scorpion is not swinging a separate appendage tacked onto the end of the body. It is lifting and aiming a continuation of its own torso, with its digestive plumbing threaded inside, capped at the very tip by the venom bulb and the barb. This is a strange thing to absorb. The most iconic, the most feared part of the scorpion, the raised tail, the curved sting, the silhouette burned into 100 myths, is in plain anatomical terms the back end of the animal's belly drawn out and weaponized. The mouth is at the front where the pincers seize the meal. The other end of the gut runs all the way out along the metasoma. There is even a grim, quietly comic truth folded into this. The opening for waste sits near the base of that tail, which means the scorpion's most majestic feature is anatomically closer to its hind end than to anything noble. Picture the curved, poised tail of a scorpion and understand what you are really seeing. Not a tail at all, but the body itself extended, repurposed, and tipped with the deadliest point in the animal world. The pincers are the most versatile tools the scorpion owns. Properly called pedipalps, these two armored claws held out in front do far more than one job. They are hands, weapons, and sensory organs all at once, and the scorpion uses them for nearly everything. As hands, they grasp and manipulate. They seize prey and hold it fast. They tear food into pieces small enough to eat. They dig and clear and move material when the scorpion builds its burrow. In courtship, the male takes the female's pincers in his own and leads her through the long mating dance claw locked in claw. As weapons they crush. A scorpion with heavy, powerful pincers can kill smaller prey by force alone, the claws closing with enough strength to dispatch a meal before the tail ever needs to move. They are armor and threat as well. Raised and spread wide, they make the animal look larger, a warning held out toward anything that comes too close. And as sensors, they listen. The pincers are studded with sensory hairs that read vibration and touch. So as the scorpion reaches into the dark, the very claws it extends are feeling the world ahead, gathering information before they ever close. One pair of limbs doing the work that other animals spread across many. Hands to hold and build, jaws of a kind to crush and tear, shields to threaten, antennae to feel. Watch a scorpion handle its prey, and you see all of it at once, gripping, sensing, tearing, the pincers, shifting fluidly between roles. It is part of what makes the body so efficient and so old. Few parts, each one doing everything it possibly can. A scorpion cannot chew and it cannot swallow anything solid. So it does something stranger. It digests its food before that food ever enters its body. When a scorpion catches prey, it does not bite off pieces and gulp them down. It holds the meal in its pincers and small mouthparts, and floods it with digestive juices from the outside fluids that break the prey down where it lies, dissolving the soft insides into a thin, nourishing broth. The scorpion then draws up that liquid, sucking in the dissolved meal, while the solid leftovers, the shell, the indigestible armor of an insect, are left behind as a small, dry pellet. It eats in effect by turning its prey into soup and drinking it. This is why a scorpion's meal can take a long time, hours of patient processing, as the food is dissolved and slowly taken in. It is unhurried work suited to an animal that has all the patience in the world, and it fits the rest of the body perfectly. A creature that wastes no water and no energy also wastes no food, extracting nearly everything of value, leaving only a dry husk behind. Up close, the process is quiet and methodical. The prey is held, the juices flow, and over time, the body of the meal simply collapses inward, emptied from within. There is nothing fast or violent about this part. The violence was in the catching. This is the slow aftermath, an external stomach working outside the body, reducing a living creature to liquid before the scorpion has taken a single thing inside. It is one more way the animal does its living, slightly outside the rules we know, even turning its own meals to broth before it deigns to swallow them. The scorpion's outer shell, its cuticle, is one of the toughest survival tools in the animal world, and its greatest test is the loss of water. In the desert, dehydration is a constant enemy, and the cuticle is the scorpion's front line against it. We have seen that the waxy outer layer seals moisture in, but the cuticle's resilience runs further still. A scorpion can lose a remarkable fraction of its body's water and keep living its tissues, enduring a degree of drying that would kill most animals outright. The shell holds the body's shape and structure even as conditions turn brutally dry, refusing to fail when the water within drops low. This toughness is part of why scorpions can vanish for long stretches in the harshest seasons, sealed in their burrows, barely active, riding out drought and heat that leave the surface lifeless. The cuticle holds the line, keeping precious water locked inside, while the animal slows itself almost to stillness and simply waits for better conditions to return. Combine this drought-proof shell with the moisture-sparing book lungs, the water-conserving gut, and the body that can throttle its own activity down to almost nothing, and the picture is complete, an animal engineered from the surface inward to outlast dry times that erase nearly everything around it. Picture a creature sealed in armor, tough enough to hold its form through punishing drought, waiting underground, losing almost nothing, asking for almost nothing, while the desert above bakes empty. When the dry season finally breaks and moisture returns, the scorpion is still there, still sealed, still whole. The shell kept its promise. The water stayed in, and the animal walks out of the drought that should have killed it. A scorpion seems solid, armored, rigid, all hard angles and plates. And yet it can press itself into a gap you would swear was far too thin to hold it. The secret is in how the body is built. A scorpion's shell is not one unbroken piece. It is made of many separate plates, hard sections joined by flexible membrane between them like armor laid over soft seams. That jointed construction lets the animal compress, drawing the plates closer together, folding its legs in tight, lowering its whole profile until it is astonishingly flat. A scorpion can squeeze into a crevice barely thicker than its own flattened body, slipping into spaces in rock, in bark, in the cracks of a wall that look impossibly narrow. This is central to how the animal lives. By day, and through the killing heat, the scorpion hides, and the tighter the hiding place, the better. A thin crack offers shelter from the sun, protection from predators, and a cool, stable refuge, while the world above turns hostile. The ability to flatten and wedge into the narrowest gap is what lets the scorpion disappear so completely. It is also, of course, exactly how the animal ends up in human spaces, pressing under a door into a seam of clothing beneath the lip of a shoe. What looks like a sealed gap to us is an open doorway to a creature that can flatten itself to a sliver. Picture an armored animal compressing its whole body down plates, drawing tight, vanishing edge first into a crack you would have called solid. The armor that makes it look so rigid is in truth beautifully flexible, built not just to protect, but to fold the scorpion away into the dark, out of sight, out of reach, until night falls again. Behind the famous pincers tucked at the very front of the scorpion's body sits a smaller pair of structures that do the close, intimate work of eating. They are called the chelicerae, tiny, claw-tipped jaws set right at the mouth, and they are where the meal is finally taken apart. The big pincers catch and crush and hold, but it is the chelicerae that handle the food at the end, small, sharp, pincer-like mouthparts that tear, shred, and work the prey into the soft pulp the scorpion can dissolve and drink. They pull the meal apart in tiny pieces, mashing and manipulating it against the flood of digestive fluid, breaking down the body of the prey bit by careful bit. They are delicate compared to the great claws out front, but they are precise, built for the fine, patient work of dismantling a meal rather than the brute work of catching it. The scorpion holds its prey in the big pincers and brings it to these little jaws, which take over the slow business of reducing a creature to something drinkable. These same structures, the chelicerae, are an ancient signature shared across the arachnids. Spiders have their own version, tipped with fangs instead of claws. In the scorpion, they remain small, grasping jaws, doing the unglamorous, essential work at the mouth. Up close, the scene is almost surgical, the great claws holding the meal steady, the small jaws working away at it in tiny, ceaseless movements, taking the prey apart piece by piece. It is the final station in the scorpion's assembly line of eating. Caught by the pincers, stilled by the sting, dissolved by the juices, and here at the last, shredded by the smallest tools of all, into a meal at last fit to take inside. We carry our control in one place. The human brain is a single dense organ in the skull, running nearly everything from one command center. The scorpion is built on a different plan entirely. Its nervous system is spread out, distributed along the length of the body, rather than gathered into one ruling brain. A scorpion does have a brain of sorts, a cluster of nerve tissue near the front, but it is not the sole authority we might imagine. Running back through the body is a nerve cord studded with smaller bundles of nervous tissue called ganglia, local control centers spaced along the animal, each handling the business of its own region. Much of what the scorpion does is governed not from a central brain but from these scattered hubs, processing information and driving movement close to where the action is. This distributed design has real consequences. It makes the animal remarkably robust, with control spread across the body rather than concentrated in one fragile place. The scorpion has no single point whose failure shuts everything down. It also suits a creature built from repeated segments, each section of the body handling its own affairs with a degree of independence. It is an old architecture shared in various forms across many invertebrates, and it works. Picture a body run not by one ruler issuing every command, but by a council of local governors strung along its length, each managing its own territory, coordinating loosely toward the whole. The scorpion does not think the way we think in one place with one center. It thinks in a sense all along itself, a nervous system woven through the entire animal, ancient, decentralized, and resilient by design. Put all of it together, the sealed shell, the stillbook lungs, the slow tube heart, the moisture-hoarding gut, the senses that feel the dark, the venom that ends a fight in an instant, and a single truth emerges about the scorpion's entire body. It is built to wait. Almost nothing about the scorpion is designed for the chase. It is not fast over distance. It is not built for endurance running, for pursuit, for the long hunt. Its legs move in jerky hydraulic bursts, fine for a quick lunge, but never for a marathon. Its whole physiology is tuned the other way, toward stillness, toward patience, toward spending as little energy as a living thing possibly can. This is an animal that can sit motionless for hours, for days, even for far longer when food is scarce, asking almost nothing of itself while it waits for the world to bring a meal within reach. The senses watch the dark, the body holds its water and its energy in reserve. And when prey finally wanders close enough, the wait ends in a single explosive instant, the lunge, the grip, the sting before the stillness returns. The strike is fast precisely because everything else is slow. The scorpion cannot afford to miss, and it cannot afford to chase. So it has perfected the alternative, become so patient, so frugal, so sealed against time and hunger and heat, that it can simply outlast the need to hunt at all and let the hunt come to it. This is the body of an ambush predator carried to its furthest extreme. Not a runner, not a pursuer. A waiter, armored, sealed, and infinitely patient, built across 400 million years to do almost nothing, almost forever, until the one moment it must move. For most predators, hunting means moving, stalking, chasing, running prey down. The scorpion has built its entire life around the opposite idea, that the most effective thing it can do is nothing at all. The scorpion's primary hunting strategy is the ambush, and stillness is its weapon. It positions itself often near the mouth of its burrow, or along a path that prey is likely to cross, and then it simply stops. Pincers slightly open, tail ready, senses wide awake, and it waits sometimes for hours, perfectly motionless for a meal, to make the mistake of coming close. This is not laziness. It is strategy, refined to a razor's edge. Movement costs energy, and energy for a desert animal is precious beyond measure. Movement also makes noise and disturbance, betraying the hunter to both prey and predators. By holding still, the scorpion spends almost nothing and reveals almost nothing. It becomes part of the landscape, a dark shape among the stones, indistinguishable from the dead ground around it. The prey never sees a hunter. It sees an empty patch of desert right up until the empty patch erupts. And when prey does wander into range, the scorpion's patience converts instantly into violence. The lunge, the grip, the sting. Over before the prey understands, the ground has changed. Then the stillness returns, and the wait begins again. There is a strange discipline in this that commands a kind of respect. An animal that has learned across hundreds of millions of years that the surest way to catch a moving world is to refuse to move at all. To become so still, so silent, so much a part of the dark that the meal walks willingly into reach. The scorpion does not chase its dinner. It waits for its dinner to arrive, and astonishingly often it does. A scorpion can hunt in total darkness, with prey it cannot see, cannot smell from a distance, cannot hear in any way we would understand, and still strike it with precision. It does this by feeling the ground. When an insect walks across the sand near a waiting scorpion, each footstep sends a tiny tremor rippling outward through the surface. To us, these vibrations are nothing, far too faint to notice. To the scorpion, they are a clear and readable signal. Set into the tips of its legs are specialized organs, exquisitely sensitive to vibration passing through the ground. As the prey's footsteps travel outward, those tremors reach the scorpion's legs, and the animal feels the disturbance with astonishing sensitivity, able to detect prey moving on the sand a surprising distance away, purely from the shaking of the ground beneath it. Some desert species are so finely tuned to this that they can locate prey across an impressive stretch of open sand without any other sense involved. Researchers studying sand-dwelling scorpions have found them able to detect and home in on the vibrations of prey from a remarkable distance, the legs acting as a spread-out array of sensors reading the trembling surface. Picture a hunter that does not watch the dark or listen to it, but feels it registering the faint percussion of a beetle's footsteps through the soles of its feet, the way you might feel a heavy truck pass by through the floor. The desert to a scorpion is alive with vibration, a constant murmur of movement carried through the sand. Most of it means nothing, but somewhere in that murmur is the signature of a meal walking closer with every step it takes, and the scorpion, motionless, is already reading it. Feeling that prey is near is only half the problem. The scorpion also has to know where it is, which direction to turn, which way to strike, and it solves this with a piece of natural engineering so elegant it took scientists years to understand. A scorpion stands on 8 legs spread out in a rough circle around its body. When a vibration travels through the ground, from a footstep, it does not reach all 8 legs at the same instant. The leg nearest the source feels the tremor first. The legs farther away feel it a fraction of a moment later. These differences in timing are unimaginably small slivers of an instant, but the scorpion's nervous system can read them. By comparing which legs felt the vibration first and which felt it last, the animal works out the direction the tremor came from and turns to face it. It triangulates its prey using its own body as the instrument, 8 sensors spread around a circle, each reporting the exact moment the signal arrived. From those tiny differences, a direction emerges. The scorpion pivots toward the source, closes the gap and strikes. Scientists studying this describe it as one of the more remarkable feats of sensory processing in a small animal, a creature with a simple distributed nervous system, performing in effect a precise calculation of timing and geometry in the fair. Dark in a fraction of a second. Picture standing blindfolded in a silent room and knowing exactly which direction a single quiet footstep came from, purely by feeling the floor with your spread hands and comparing which felt it first. That is the scorpion's ordinary skill. Not just sensing that prey is there, but pinpointing where, from the faint, staggered arrival of a tremor across 8 patient legs. Every time a scorpion catches prey, it makes a choice, and the choice reveals a quiet intelligence written into the animal's behavior. The scorpion has 2 ways to subdue a meal. It can crush it in the pincers using brute mechanical force, or it can sting it spending venom to shut the prey down with chemistry. And it does not use them at random. It chooses based on what it has caught. Small, weak, easily handled prey is often dealt with by the pincers alone. The scorpion grabs it, crushes it, and never bothers to sting because the venom is costly to make and there is no sense spending it on a meal the claws can finish for free. But when the prey is large, strong, or capable of fighting back, the calculation changes. Now the pincers alone are not enough or not safe, and the tail comes into play, the sting delivering the venom needed to overpower a difficult target. Scientists watching this behavior have found that scorpions adjust their tactics to the prey in front of them, relying on raw strength when strength will do, committing the expensive venom only when the situation demands it. It is a graded response, an economy of force, the animal spending exactly what the moment requires and no more. There is real sophistication in this. The scorpion is in a sense assessing its opponent, judging size, strength and threat, and selecting the right tool for the job in the instant of the catch. Crush the easy meal. Sting the hard one. Conserve the precious venom whenever possible. It is the behavior of a hunter that does not just attack, but weighs its attack. A small, armored creature making a real decision every single time it feeds. The scorpion is one of the most energy-efficient hunters on the planet, and that efficiency is the hidden foundation of everything it does. Most predators live on a demanding budget. Hunting burns fuel, the chase costs energy, and a run of failed hunts can threaten starvation, forcing the animal to keep trying, keep moving, keep spending. The scorpion has escaped that trap almost entirely. Its metabolism, the rate at which it burns energy to stay alive, is extraordinarily low, among the lowest measured in any active predator. A resting scorpion uses so little fuel that it can survive on an astonishingly small amount of food. This changes the entire logic of its hunting. Where other predators must succeed often or starve, the scorpion can afford to wait and wait and wait, spending almost nothing while it does. A failed night costs it very little. A long stretch with no prey at all is survivable in a way it simply is not for a hungrier animal. The ambush strategy and the low metabolism feed each other perfectly. The scorpion can hold still for impossibly long stretches, precisely because holding still costs it so little. And it can afford to be patient, precisely because patience is cheap. Combine this with the sealed shell that hoards water and the gut that wastes no food, and you have an animal built to run on the absolute minimum. It is the opposite of the fast, hungry, high-burning predators we tend to picture. The scorpion thrives by needing almost nothing, a hunter so frugal it can outlast hunger itself. Waiting in the dark on a budget so small that time which defeats so many animals becomes its greatest ally instead. Here is a fact that sounds almost impossible. There are records of scorpions surviving being swallowed, passing through or nearly through the digestive tract of an animal that ate them, and coming out the other side alive. The scorpion's armor is the reason. That tough, sealed exoskeleton built to hold in water and turn aside a predator's bite also offers a startling degree of protection against the chemical assault of a stomach. The same waxy, watertight cuticle that keeps moisture in can, for a time, keep digestive juices out, shielding the living animal inside its shell from the acids meant to dissolve it. There are accounts of scorpions that have been swallowed and later emerged, having endured conditions that would destroy almost any soft-bodied creature. It does not always work, and it is not a strategy the scorpion can rely on. But that it happens at all is a testament to just how formidable that armor is, a shell tough enough that even being eaten is not always the end. It speaks to the broader truth of the animal's durability. The scorpion's body is built to endure extremes that kill nearly everything else. Drought, heat, drowning, even on occasion the inside of another animal's gut. The same engineering that lets it survive the desert lets it survive ordeals that should be unsurvivable. Picture a creature so thoroughly sealed against the world that it can pass through the very process designed to consume it and walk away. It is an extreme example, a rare and strange one, but it captures something essential about the scorpion, an animal armored not just against attack but against dissolution itself, carrying a shell that refuses to fail even when the world tries to digest it whole. For many scorpions, survival depends not just on the body they carry but on the home they build, and some are remarkable engineers. A burrowing scorpion does not simply scrape a hole. It constructs a deliberate, often complex structure beneath the ground, and the design serves a precise purpose, controlling the climate the scorpion lives in. The surface of a desert is a place of violent extremes, scorching by day, cold by night, bone dry always. But descend even a short distance underground, and the world transforms. Temperatures steady. Moisture lingers. The brutal swings of the surface flatten into something cool, stable, and survivable. The burrowing scorpion exploits this with real sophistication. Some species dig burrows with carefully shaped passages, sloping entrance chambers set at particular depths, sometimes a turn or platform near the surface where the scorpion can warm itself, and a deeper retreat where it shelters from the depth. Worst heat and dryness. The architecture is not random. Researchers studying these burrows have found structures that appear tuned to manage temperature and humidity, the scorpion effectively engineering its own private microclimate, moving up or down through its tunnel to find the conditions it needs as the day turns. Picture an animal that, lacking any way to cool its body directly, instead builds a home that does the cooling for it, descending into the steady dark when the surface burns, rising toward the entrance when conditions ease. It is a kind of intelligence, expressed not in thought but in construction, the burrow an extension of the body's own survival systems. The scorpion cannot change the desert, so it digs its way out of the desert's reach. Into a pocket of stable air it is shaped with its own claws, and there, sealed and cool, it waits. A scorpion leaves its burrow at night to hunt, crossing open ground in the dark, and then, when the hunt is done, it returns, often to the very same burrow it left. This is a harder feat than it sounds. The scorpion can barely see. It moves through a featureless dark across shifting sand, with no map and no landmarks it could read with its eyes. And yet, it finds its way home, back to the precise small opening in the ground that is its shelter, its safety, its retreat from the coming heat of dawn. How it does this is not fully understood, and that uncertainty is part of what makes it fascinating. Scientists believe scorpions rely on a combination of cues to navigate. They may use the faint light of the night sky, the moon, the stars, the polarized patterns of light that the human eye cannot see, but that some animals can read like a compass. They may track their own movements as they travel, keeping a kind of internal tally of distance and direction so they can reverse the journey home. They may use chemical traces, the scent of their own burrow, or subtle features of the terrain felt rather than seen. Most likely it is several of these working together. What is clear is that the scorpion is no aimless wanderer. It hunts on a tether, ranging out from a fixed home and finding its way back to it, a small dark traveler crossing the desert night with a destination firmly in mind. Picture an almost blind animal setting out into trackless dark hunting across open sand, and then turning unerringly back toward a single hidden doorway it cannot see, guided by the sky, by memory, by senses. We are still working to understand. The scorpion does not wander the night. It commutes through it. The scorpion is a creature of the night, and that is no accident of preference. It is a survival strategy as precise and deliberate as anything else the animal does. The desert by day is lethal. The sun bakes the surface to temperatures that would kill a scorpion, quickly drawing the water from its body and overwhelming its ability to cope. So the scorpion does the only sensible thing: it disappears. Through the burning hours it shelters underground, or wedged deep in a crack, sealed away from the heat, motionless, waiting. And then, as the sun sets and the surface cools, it emerges into the world it was built for. The night belongs to the scorpion. The cool dark suits its physiology, sparing its precious water and freeing it to move and hunt without the threat of overheating. It also suits its senses. The scorpion does not need light to hunt. It feels its prey through vibration and air and chemistry, so darkness costs it nothing as a hunter, while shielding it from many of the daytime predators that would hunt it in turn. Hunting by night is the scorpion's answer to a hostile world. Avoid the heat that kills, exploit the dark that protects, and let its strange suite of non-visual senses do the work that eyes would do for other animals. Picture the desert at dusk, the killing sun finally gone, the sand giving up its heat to the cooling air, and from 1,000 hidden cracks and burrows, the scorpions emerging, flowing out into a night that belongs to them. By day, the desert seems empty of them entirely. By night, it is quietly, invisibly full. The scorpion did not just adapt to the night. It claimed it. The scorpion is a fearsome hunter, but it is also hunted. Owls, bats, certain snakes, lizards, large spiders, meerkats, and other small mammals all prey on scorpions, and a surprising number of these predators have evolved ways to handle the venom that protects everything else. So the scorpion, for all its weaponry, must also be wary, and the same senses that make it such an effective hunter make it a vigilant survivor. The web of sensory hairs and vibration detectors covering its body does not only listen for prey, It listens for danger. The approach of a larger animal sends its own disturbances rippling through the air, and the ground vibrations, air movement, the subtle signs of something big drawing near, and the scorpion reads these warnings the same way it reads the footsteps of a meal. When threat is detected, the scorpion has options. It can flee, retreating fast into a burrow or crevice where larger predators cannot follow. It can flatten and hide, vanishing into a crack. Or it can stand and threaten, raising its pincers wide, arching its tail high, presenting the sting as a clear warning to anything that comes closer. That raised defensive posture is a language of its own, a signal that says plainly, "I am armed and I will use it." The scorpion's whole sensory world then runs in two directions at once. It feels outward for the faint signs of prey to catch, and at the same time for the larger signs of predators to avoid. Hunter and hunted, both reading the same trembling dark for opposite reasons. Picture an animal that never fully relaxes, always sensing, always weighing the disturbances around it, ready in an instant to strike a meal or to flee a threat depending on which the night delivers. For all its solitary armored menace, the scorpion has a courtship ritual of startling delicacy, one of the strangest and most elaborate dances in the animal world. When a male finds a female, he does not simply approach and mate. The two perform a slow, deliberate ceremony that scientists have named the promenade à deux, the walk for two. It begins when the male takes hold of the female's pincers with his own claw locked in claw, and then they dance. Gripping each other, the pair move together across the ground, stepping forward, back, turning, sometimes for many minutes, sometimes for hours. The male leads the female through this slow, swaying procession, the two locked together, circling and stepping in a ritual that can look almost tender, almost formal, against everything else we know about the animal. The male is not merely courting, he is maneuvering. As they dance, he is searching for and preparing the right patch of ground, because of how scorpions actually transfer their genes, which we will come to. The dance positions the female precisely where she needs to be, but knowing the function does not erase the wonder of the sight. Two heavily armored predators, each capable of killing, holding one another gently by the claws and stepping together through the dark in a slow, patient waltz. There is even risk in it for the male. In some species, the encounter is dangerous, and not every suitor survives his own courtship. Picture the desert at night, two scorpions clasped claw to claw, swaying together across the sand in a dance hundreds of millions of years old. The same animal that strikes its prey in a fraction of a second can also move with this much slowness, this much care when the moment calls for it. Scorpions live much of their lives alone, but they are not silent to one another. They communicate not with sound or color in any way we would notice, but through the languages their bodies are built to speak: vibration and touch. Much of a scorpion's social signaling travels through the ground. A scorpion can drum or vibrate its body against the surface, sending tremors rippling outward, the same kind of ground-borne signals it is so superbly equipped to detect. Another scorpion, reading those vibrations through its own legs, receives the message. In this way, scorpions may signal across a stretch of ground without ever touching, speaking in a percussion of the earth that we would never perceive. Touch carries even more. In the long courtship dance, the entire conversation is conducted through contact, claw gripping claw, the constant pressure and movement of the promenade, communicating intention, readiness, and direction between the partners. A mother and her young communicate through touch as well, the offspring riding on her back in direct contact with her body. And the pectines, those unique, ground-reading combs, gather chemical messages left by other scorpions, reading the invisible signatures of who has passed and whether they might be a mate. It is a communication built entirely from the senses the scorpion possesses. No bird song, no bright display, no call across the dark. Instead, a quiet language of tremor and contact and chemistry, perfectly suited to an animal that feels the world far more than it sees it. Picture two scorpions exchanging signals through the trembling of the sand between them, or speaking through the long grip of a dance, conversing in a language made of touch and vibration that fills the desert night with messages no human will ever hear. Some scorpions do not merely walk across the desert, they swim through it, In the Great Sand Deserts, certain specialized scorpions have evolved an extraordinary ability to move through loose sand, almost as if it were water slipping beneath the surface and traveling through the grains themselves. These sand-dwelling species are built for it. Their bodies and legs are shaped to push through fine shifting sand, and they can bury themselves with remarkable speed, vanishing beneath the surface in moments. Some can effectively swim through the upper layer of loose sand, moving below the surface, where they are hidden from predators, sheltered from the brutal sun, and concealed from the prey they hunt. This sand swimming serves the scorpion in every direction at once. It is a way to hide, disappearing beneath the surface, leaves no scorpion in sight for a hungry owl or a passing predator. It is a way to escape the heat, the sand below the surface cooler and kinder than the baking face of the dune. And it is a way to hunt the scorpion lying buried just beneath the surface, sensing the vibrations of prey walking above through the very sand it hides in, then erupting upward to strike. Picture a desert dune that appears utterly empty, its surface smooth and still, and beneath it unseen scorpions gliding through the loose grains, buried hunters reading the footsteps of the world above through the sand pressed all around them. The desert hides more than its stillness suggests. In some places the very ground is alive with scorpions moving through it, swimming the sand like a sea, surfacing only to seize what walks unsuspecting overhead. The scorpion's most dangerous enemy is often another scorpion. Among the prey, a scorpion hunts other scorpions, are frequently on the menu, and some species specialize in it, turning their weapons on their own kind. This is a hunter built to handle armored venomous prey, because that is exactly what another scorpion is. A scorpion attacking another scorpion faces a target with the same pincers, the same sting, the same defenses it carries itself. The fight is a contest of equals, and it can be deadly for both. Speed matters enormously here. The scorpion that strikes first, that grips and stings before its rival can answer, is the one that walks away with a meal. Hesitation can mean becoming the meal instead. Larger scorpions readily prey on smaller ones and in lean times. When other food is scarce, scorpions will turn on each other with little hesitation. A bigger, faster, or more venomous scorpion can overpower a smaller relative, crushing it in the pincers or stinging it into stillness, then dissolving and drinking it down like any other prey. There is no kinship that spares the victim. To a hungry scorpion, another scorpion is simply food that happens to be armed. This intraspecies hunting shapes how scorpions live. It is part of why they are so often solitary, so wary of one another, so quick to threaten when another scorpion draws near. The same animal that will dance for hours claw to claw with a mate will in a different moment kill and eat a member of its own kind without pause. Picture two scorpions meeting in the dark, and the encounter resolving not into courtship, but into a swift, silent mutual hunt where the faster striker survives and the slower becomes the meal. The scorpion takes the hunting of its own kind one step further, still into cannibalism that runs through the heart of its life, even between mates and within families. After the long, delicate courtship dance, some female scorpions turn on the male. Once mating is complete, the female may seize her former partner and eat him, the suitor who danced with her for hours, becoming her next meal. For the male, the very act of reproduction can carry a real risk of death, and in some species his body becomes a final gift of nourishment to the female who will carry his young. Cannibalism reaches into the family as well. A mother scorpion carries her newborns on her back, protecting them through their most vulnerable days and yet under stress in hunger or amid crowding. Scorpions may eat their own young or their siblings. Young scorpions, packed together early in life, sometimes turn on one another, the stronger consuming the weaker. To our eyes, this is disturbing, but from the cold logic of survival, it carries a brutal efficiency. In a harsh world where food is scarce and unreliable, another scorpion, even a mate, even an offspring, even a sibling, is a concentrated package of nutrition, and the calculus of survival does not always allow for sentiment. Eating a rival removes competition and provides a meal at once. The strategy is not cruelty. It is the arithmetic of an animal living perpetually on the edge of scarcity, where wasting a source of food of any kind can be the difference between living and not. Picture a creature for which family and food are not always separate categories, where the same body that shelters its young can in the wrong moment consume them. It is one of the scorpion's harder truths, and one of its oldest survival tools. The scorpion's tail is a weapon, but it is also a language, and one of its clearest messages is written in posture. When a scorpion feels threatened, it does not strike blindly. First, very often it warns. It raises its tail high over its body, arching the sting forward and upward, spreading its pincers wide, lifting itself into a display that transforms its whole shape. This raised, armed posture is a signal broadcast to anything close enough to see or sense it. I am dangerous. I am ready. Come no closer. The message serves the scorpion as much as it serves the threat. A fight, even one the scorpion would win, carries risk, a chance of injury, a cost in energy, and venom. If a clear warning can make a predator think twice and withdraw, the scorpion avoids the danger of combat entirely. The raised tail is a bluff and a promise at once, an honest advertisement of a real weapon displayed in the hope that it will never need to be used. The posture can shift with the level of threat. A mildly disturbed scorpion may simply lift its tail in readiness. A truly cornered one raises everything tail high, pincers spread, body tense to full display of every weapon it owns. And if the warning fails, the same raised tail is already cocked and positioned to strike in an instant. Picture a scorpion suddenly exposed, a rock lifted, a light shone, and watch the transformation, the flat hidden shape rising up, tail arcing high, claws thrown wide, the whole animal becoming a clear and bristling warning. It is communication at its most fundamental. Not a sound, not a color, but a shape that says unmistakably to anything that can read it, stay back. For all the scorpion's reputation as a cold, solitary killer, it is also capable of something that looks remarkably like devotion. Scorpion mothers care for their young, and the image of that care is one of the most striking sights in the animal world. Scorpions do not lay eggs and abandon them. The young are born live, and from the moment of birth they are helpless, pale, soft, their shells not yet hardened, utterly unable to fend for themselves. And so the mother gathers them up. The newborns climb onto her back, and there they ride, sometimes dozens of them clustered together across her body, carried with her wherever she goes. For days, often a week or more, the mother bears her entire brood on her back, protecting them through the most dangerous period of their lives. She shelters them with her own body and her own weapons. A mother carrying young is a fortress on legs. Any predator that threatens the brood must face her pincers and her sting. The young, meanwhile, remain safe atop the one creature in the desert most equipped to defend them. Sheltered beneath the constant guard of their mother's raised tail, they stay until their first molt, when they shed their soft newborn shells and harden into miniature versions of the adult, and only then, equipped at last to survive on their own, do they climb down and disperse into the world. Picture a scorpion moving through the night with her back entirely covered in pale, tiny replicas of herself, dozens of small lives riding on the body of the desert's most feared hunter, guarded by the very weapons that make her so dangerous. The same animal we fear for its sting turns that sting for a time into a shield, standing guard over the next generation until it is ready to stand alone. A newborn scorpion comes into the world knowing remarkably little and needing to learn fast, and its first lessons in survival begin on its mother's back. In those early days, riding atop the mother, the young are not merely being carried. They are in their safest possible classroom, sheltered from predators and the elements, while their bodies finish forming and their instincts begin to wake. The protection buys them time to harden, to grow, to ready themselves for a world that will try to kill them the moment they step into it alone. When the young finally molt and disperse, they must hunt from almost the very start. Much of what they need is instinct, written into them by hundreds of millions of years of evolution. The drive to wait, to sense vibration, to strike, to use the pincers and the sting. A young scorpion does not need to be taught the basic machinery of being a predator. It is born already a hunter in miniature, equipped with the same weapons and senses as the adult, only smaller and less practiced. But practice matters. The early hunts of a young scorpion are clumsier than those of a seasoned adult, and survival in those first vulnerable weeks is a brutal filter. Many do not make it. Those that do refine their timing, their judgment, their handling of prey through the hard experience of doing it, sharpening instinct into skill. Picture a tiny scorpion, freshly independent, no larger than a grain of rice, taking up the same patient ambush. Its ancestors have practiced for eons, waiting, sensing, striking, learning with each attempt to be the hunter its body was always built to be. The knowledge is mostly inherited. The mastery is earned alone in the dark, one hunt at a time. The scorpion's control over its venom is finer than simply choosing whether to use it. The animal appears to tailor its venom to the situation, deploying it differently, depending on whether it is hunting prey or defending its life. Venom is metabolically expensive and limited in supply, and a scorpion that empties its glands is left poorly armed until they refill. So the animal spends with care, and research suggests it does more than just ration the total amount. It may shift how it stings and even aspects of what it delivers between catching a meal and fending off a threat. When subduing prey, the scorpion's goal is to overcome and immobilize the target efficiently, often with a measured dose suited to the size and resistance of the meal. When defending itself against a predator, the goal is different: to inflict enough pain or harm to drive the threat away fast. Some scorpions are known to deliver their cheaper prevenom first in low-threat encounters, holding the costly, more complex venom in reserve for situations that truly demand it. Scientists studying scorpion venom have found growing evidence that these animals modulate their stinging behavior to the context, adjusting dose and possibly composition between predatory and defensive strikes, spending their precious chemistry according to need. It is one more layer of the quiet intelligence woven through the scorpion's behavior. The animal is not a simple machine that injects a fixed payload every time it strikes. It is a careful manager of a costly finite weapon, weighing prey against predator threat against meal and metering out its venom accordingly. Picture a hunter that knows at some deep evolutionary level the true value of what it carries and refuses to waste a drop of it where a smaller measure, or none at all, will do. Hidden inside the scorpion's venom system is a remarkable piece of biological economy. A two-stage weapon with a cheap opening shot held ready before the expensive one. When researchers looked closely at how scorpions deploy their venom, they discovered that many species do not produce a single fluid, but two distinct ones released in sequence. The first to come out is a clear, transparent liquid that scientists named prevenom. Behind it, held deeper in the gland, lies the milky, opaque, far more complex venom that follows. The prevenom is cheaper for the scorpion to make, and it is the animal's first response, the shot it leads with. Remarkably, this opening fluid is not weak. It is rich in certain compounds, including potassium salts, that cause immediate, intense pain and can disrupt the nerves and muscles of small prey on their own. For many small targets and for driving off a minor threat, the prevenom alone is enough. The scorpion never needs to spend the costly venom behind it. Only when the prevenom fails to settle the matter does the scorpion commit the expensive, protein-rich venom that follows. This staged system is a masterpiece of conservation. The scorpion meets each challenge with the cheapest tool that might work, escalating to the costly weapon only when it must, saving the metabolic fortune locked in its full venom for the moments that genuinely require it. Scientists were struck by the elegance of the arrangement when they uncovered it. An animal that has, in effect, two grades of venom on tap and the judgment to know which to spend. Picture a hunter reaching first for the cheap blade and keeping the costly one sheathed until the fight demands it, an economy of violence refined across hundreds of millions of years, written into the chemistry of a single tale. Step back from the single animal and look at the whole sweep of its existence. and the scorpion becomes almost impossible to comprehend. This creature has existed in recognizable form for around 400 million years. The number is so large, it slides past the mind without landing, so hold it still for a moment. 400 million years means the scorpion was already ancient when the dinosaurs first appeared, and was still here unchanged long after they were gone. It means scorpions walked the earth before there were trees as we know them, before flowers, before birds, before mammals, before nearly every living thing you could name. They predate the supercontinents breaking apart. They predate the very forests that would become our coal. If you could compress the entire history of complex life on land into a single day, the scorpion would have been present for almost all of it, scuttling through the dark from the early morning of that day to this very minute. And through all of it, through ice ages and warm ages, through the rise and fall of countless other creatures, through extinctions that erased the majority of life on Earth, more than once the scorpion has changed remarkably little. A scorpion from hundreds of millions of years ago would be recognizable to you instantly as a scorpion. The same pincers, the same tail, the same patient armored shape. Picture every animal you have ever known, every creature in every story, every beast in every field, every pet and predator and bird, and understand that the scorpion was here before all of them, that it watched their kinds arrive, and that it will very likely watch them go. It is not merely old, it is a survivor from a world so distant we can barely imagine it walking still through ours almost exactly as it always was. The history of life on Earth is punctuated by catastrophe. Several times the world has very nearly ended, great mass extinctions that wiped out enormous portions of all living things in geological instants. The scorpion survived every one of them. Consider what that means. There have been multiple mass extinctions since scorpions first appeared, including the greatest die-off the planet has ever known, an event so severe it erased the overwhelming majority of species on Earth, in the sea and on the land, pushing life itself to the brink. Whole worlds of creatures vanished, and the scorpion came through. There was the catastrophe that ended the age of the dinosaurs. The impact and its aftermath that destroyed those great animals and countless others alongside them. The scorpion came through that as well. Time and again the planet has thrown its worst at all living things. Sudden cold, sudden heat, poisoned seas, darkened skies, collapsing food chains, and time and again the bulk of life has been swept away while the scorpion somehow endured. This is not luck. It is the dividend of everything the animal is. The frugal body that needs almost nothing to live, the sealed shell that holds water through drought, the ability to slow itself to near stillness and wait out hard times, the capacity to survive on scraps, to shelter underground, to endure conditions that kill nearly everything else. When the world turns lethal, the scorpion's whole way of being patient, armored, undemanding, becomes a strategy for outlasting the apocalypse itself. Picture the great extinctions as vast doors slamming shut on life, one after another across the eons, each one ending countless lineages forever. And picture the scorpion passing through every one of those doors, scarred perhaps, diminished perhaps, but never stopped carrying its ancient design out the far side of catastrophe after catastrophe, into a world emptied of so much, still walking, still here. The scorpion's family tree holds a chapter so extraordinary it sounds like myth, a time deep in the past when relatives of the scorpion grew to monstrous size and ruled the ancient seas. They are called eurypterids, the sea scorpions, and they were among the largest arthropods ever to have lived. While they were not scorpions in the exact modern sense, they were close ancient relatives, sharing the deep lineage, and some of them were giants. The largest sea scorpions grew to well over 2 meters long, longer than a tall man. Picture a scorpion-like creature the length of a small boat, gliding through ancient waters, with paddle-shaped limbs, armored and formidable, hunting the seas of a world hundreds of millions of years before the dinosaurs. These were apex predators of their time, dominating the waters with their size and their weaponry, some equipped with great grasping claws to seize prey. For a long stretch of prehistory, the seas belonged in part to these enormous relatives of the scorpion, among the most fearsome hunters of their age. They are gone now, vanished into deep time, leaving only their fossils pressed into ancient stone. But their existence reshapes how we see the modest scorpion under the desert rock today. This small, armored creature is the survivor of a lineage that once produced ocean-going giants longer than a person is tall, a family that has spanned everything from 2-meter sea monsters to the palm-sized hunter of the palm dunes. The giants ruled their age and then fell, as giants so often do. The smaller cousins endured, and in that contrast lies one of evolution's quiet lessons, that it was not the largest and most terrible of the line that lasted, but the smaller, humbler, more patient survivors who outlived their monstrous relatives by hundreds of millions of years and walk the earth still. The scorpion's story includes one of the most momentous transitions in the history of life: the journey from water onto land. The deep ancestry of scorpions reaches back into the sea. Their ancient relatives were aquatic creatures, breathing water, living their lives entirely beneath the surface. And at some point in the unimaginably distant past, scorpions or their forebears made the crossing out of the water and onto the bare, empty land, becoming some of the earliest animals to live on the surface of the earth at all. This was no small step. The land in that ancient era was a hostile frontier, a world without the support of water, where the air would dry a body out, where gravity pressed harder, where everything had to be solved anew. To live on land, an animal needed a way to breathe air, a way to hold in moisture, a way to move and support itself outside the buoyancy of the sea. The scorpion's lineage solved all of it: the book lungs to breathe air, the sealed waxy cuticle to hold in water, the sturdy jointed legs to carry the body across solid ground. Scorpions were among the pioneers of land, present near the very beginning of complex life ashore, helping to populate a world that had until then been almost entirely barren. Picture the ancient coastline of a world we would not recognize, the seas teeming with life, the land beyond them empty and silent, and among the first creatures to leave the water and venture onto that empty shore, the early scorpions, carrying the equipment that would let them stay. They did not just survive the crossing, they helped open the door through which so much of life would eventually follow. The scorpion did not merely adapt to land, it was there near the dawn of it, among the first to call the dry world home. We are used to small creatures living small lives: the mayfly that lasts a day, the housefly that lives a few weeks, the insects whose whole existence flickers past in a season. The scorpion breaks that expectation entirely. Scorpions live for years. Many survive several years in the wild, and some species are remarkably long-lived, reaching well beyond what almost any insect achieves, a handful living for a decade or more. For a small arthropod, this is an extraordinary span. The scorpion measures its life not in days or weeks like so many of the small creatures around it, but in years, slow, patient years accumulating across seasons, sometimes across the better part of a human's childhood. This longevity is woven from the same threads as everything else about the animal. A creature that burns energy so slowly that can survive long stretches without food, that shelters from every extreme and asks so little of the world, is a creature built not to burn bright and brief, but to endure quietly for a long time. The scorpion's frugal, patient physiology does not just help it survive hard moments, it stretches its whole existence out across years that most small animals never see. Picture the brief, frantic lives flickering all around the scorpion in the desert, the insects hatching, breeding and dying within a single season, generation after generation, and in the midst of that ceaseless rapid turnover, the scorpion, holding still, persisting the same individual, hunting the same patient way through year after year after year. It is long-lived in the way that everything about it is slowly, durably built to last. Even the single life of a single scorpion is in its own small way a kind of endurance, a quiet refusal to be hurried by a world that lives and dies so fast around it. In a world where most small creatures scatter eggs and walk away, the scorpion does something far rarer and more mammalian in feeling it gives birth to live young. Scorpions do not lay eggs, The female carries her developing offspring inside her body, nourishing them as they grow, and when the time comes, she gives birth to live fully formed, young, tiny, pale replicas of herself, born ready to climb and cling rather than sealed inside an egg to fend for themselves. This is unusual among such ancient invertebrates, and it speaks to the surprising investment the scorpion makes in its offspring. The developing young are carried and sustained within the mother through their earliest, most fragile stage, sheltered inside her body from the dangers of the outside world until they are developed enough to survive being born. Different scorpions manage this nourishment in different ways. In some, the young develop with a yolk supply. In others, the mother provides nutrients more directly through specialized structures, a strikingly advanced arrangement for so old a lineage. But the result is the same. The scorpion does not gamble its next generation on a clutch of abandoned eggs left to the mercy of the world. It carries them, grows them, and delivers them alive, and then, as we have seen, continues to protect them on her back through the perilous days that follow. Picture a creature we think of as cold and ancient and armored, carrying its young within its body, like something far more familiar, giving birth to living offspring rather than laying eggs, then sheltering them with its own weapons after they are born. It is one of the gentlest, most surprising facts about so fearsome an animal that the scorpion, for all its venom and armor, brings its young into the world alive and tends to them, in a way that feels almost tender, almost warm. When a scorpion gives birth, she rarely brings forth just one or two. She produces a brood, often dozens of young at a single time, a whole crowd of tiny lives arriving together. The numbers vary by species, but many scorpions give birth to broods numbering in the dozens. The pale newborns emerging over a span of time and then gathering onto the mother's back until her whole body is covered with them. Some species produce smaller families. Others can bring forth very large broods, a remarkable mass of offspring from a single mother. Picture the moment a single scorpion and upon her back a teeming cluster of miniature scorpions, dozens of them packed together, each a perfect tiny copy of the adult, riding in a living crowd across her armored body. It is one of the most arresting images in the animal world, the desert's most feared hunter transformed into a mobile nursery, carrying an entire generation at once. This abundance is a strategy against a hard truth. The early life of a scorpion is brutally dangerous, and many of the young will not survive it, lost to predators, to the elements, to hunger, to each other. By producing many offspring at once, the mother improves the odds that at least some will live long enough to grow, to harden, to disperse, and one day to breed in their turn. The brood is a hedge against a lethal world, a wager spread across dozens of small lives in the hope that a few will endure. And so the cycle turns as it has for hundreds of millions of years, a mother carrying her dozens of young through the dark, guarding them with her sting until the day they molt and scatter, each one carrying the ancient design onward out into a desert that will test every single one of them and spare only a few. A newborn scorpion does not look like the armored hunter it will become. It arrives into the world pale, soft, and almost defenseless, a ghost of the creature it is destined to be. At birth, the young scorpion's shell has not yet hardened. It is white or nearly so, its cuticle still soft and translucent, lacking the tough armor and the deep color of the adult. In this state, it is intensely vulnerable. It cannot yet fend for itself, cannot yet survive the dangers of the open desert, cannot yet hunt or properly defend itself against the world. So it does the only thing it can. It climbs onto its mother's back, joining its siblings in that clustered crowd of pale, soft bodies, and there it waits, riding sheltered, protected by the one creature most able to keep it safe, while its body completes the work of becoming. It remains in this soft white state until its first molt. Then, in that first shedding of its newborn skin, the young scorpion emerges, transformed its new shell, beginning to harden its color, deepening its body, taking on at last the armor and resilience that will let it survive alone. Only after this first molt is the young scorpion ready to leave its mother's back and descend into the world to begin its independent life. Picture the strangeness of it. The desert's most feared animal beginning as a pale, soft, helpless speck indistinguishable from harmlessness, clinging to its mother in a crowd of its kind, waiting to grow into the hunter it was born to. Befriend. Every scorpion that has ever terrified anyone, every deadly sting in every dark corner, every armored predator that has walked the earth for 400 million years, began exactly here, soft, white, defenseless, riding on its mothers. Back in the dark, not yet hardened into the thing it would become, waiting only for the first shedding of its skin to begin. The scorpion wears its skeleton on the outside, and that hard external armor creates a peculiar problem it cannot grow. A rigid shell once formed is fixed in size, so to grow at all, a scorpion must do something dramatic and dangerous. It must climb out of its own body. This is molting. As the scorpion grows too large for its shell, it forms a new soft skeleton beneath the old one, then splits the old shell open and slowly, painstakingly works its way out of it, pulling its legs, its pincers, its tail, its entire body free of the cast-off armor, leaving behind a perfect hollow replica of itself. It emerges larger, soft and new in a fresh shell that will then harden around its grown body. A scorpion molts several times over the course of its life, as it grows from newborn to adult, each molt marking a step up in size, each one shedding the old armor for a larger replacement. It is how the animal grows within the constraint of its own hard shell, by periodically abandoning that shell entirely and building a bigger one. The process is slow and demanding, and it leaves the scorpion, for a time, in its most vulnerable state of all. Picture the strangeness of growth for such a creature, not a gradual swelling like ours, but a series of dramatic escapes, the scorpion climbing out of itself again and again across its life, leaving behind a row of empty, armored ghosts, each one a snapshot of a smaller self it has outgrown and abandoned. To become larger, the scorpion must shed everything that protects it, step out raw and soft into the world, and wait for a new armor to form. It grows, in other words, only by making itself helpless first, a strange and ancient bargain at the heart of every scorpion's life. The molt is the scorpion's moment of growth and its moment of greatest peril. For an animal whose entire survival rests on its armor, its venom, and its ability to strike, the molt strips nearly all of it away at once. When a scorpion sheds its old shell and emerges in its new one, that fresh armor is at first soft. The hydraulic pressure that drives the legs not yet firm. In this state, the scorpion can barely move, cannot effectively defend itself, and cannot hunt. Its weapons are softened, its speed gone, its armor temporarily useless. For a span of hours, sometimes longer, the freshly molted scorpion is almost as helpless as a newborn, a soft, slow, defenseless version of the fearsome creature it usually is. A predator that finds a scorpion mid-molt or just after finds it, at the one moment it cannot fight back. Even the fluorescent glow is muted now, the new shell not yet carrying the compounds that make it shine. The animal is in nearly every sense disarmed. This is why scorpions molt in hiding, sealed away in a burrow or a deep crevice, concealed from the world during the long, dangerous hours of transformation, waiting in the dark for the new shell to harden and the body to firm and the weapons to return. Picture the desert's most feared hunter, reduced briefly to its most fragile self, soft, pale, sluggish, hidden away in the dark, utterly unable to defend the life it usually guards so well, riding out the most dangerous hours of its existence in stillness and concealment. The same growth that makes the scorpion larger and stronger must pass every time through this window of total vulnerability. To grow, it must first become helpless. And in those hours, hidden and soft, the oldest survivor on land is for a little while almost anything but. The scorpion's toughness reaches into realms that seem almost beyond biology, including a startling resistance to radiation. Scorpions are remarkably resistant to radiation, able to withstand doses far beyond what would kill a human and beyond what most animals could endure. Where a level of radiation that would be swiftly lethal to a person leaves the scorpion able to survive, the animal carries on its body, absorbing an assault that would tear most living things apart. Exactly why scorpions possess this resistance is not fully understood. It is one more open question about an animal full of them. It may be tied to the same robust, slow, durable biology that lets the scorpion endure so many other extremes: a low metabolic rate, a tough and protective body, cellular machinery built for resilience rather than speed. Whatever the cause, the result places the scorpion among that small and strange club of creatures able to shrug off levels of radiation that would devastate nearly all complex life. It is the kind of fact that reframes the animal entirely. We tend to think of the scorpion as a desert hunter, a venomous nuisance, a creature of warm nights and hidden cracks. But its endurance runs far deeper and far stranger than that, into a hardiness so profound that even radiation, that invisible destroyer of life, struggles to bring it down. Picture a world scoured by forces lethal to almost everything that lives, and the scorpion, ancient and armored and impossibly tough, still walking through it, enduring an assault that should be unsurvivable the way it has endured: drought and heat and drowning and famine and the long catastrophes of deep time. It is a survivor not just of the desert, not just of extinction, but of forces we associate with the very ending of life itself, carrying its 400 million year resilience into territory where almost nothing else can follow. The scorpion is the animal of the burning desert in our imagination, but its endurance reaches to the opposite extreme as well, into cold that should stop a desert creature entirely. Some scorpions can survive being frozen. There are documented cases of scorpions enduring sub-freezing conditions, their bodies chilled until they appear lifeless, frozen and motionless, and then, when warmth returns, and they thaw, walking away alive. A creature we associate entirely with heat turning out to be able to survive being turned to ice. This is a staggering feat of physiological resilience. Freezing is lethal to most animals because ice forming inside the body destroys cells from within, tearing tissue apart at the smallest scale. To survive freezing and thawing, an animal must somehow protect itself from that internal damage, and the scorpions that can do this carry in some form the means to endure the ice and come back from it. It speaks once again to the deep durability woven through the animal's entire being. The same body built to survive drought and heat and radiation proves able in some species to survive the cold as well, to be frozen nearly solid, and to return to life when the warmth comes back. Picture the range of it: the scorpion, enduring the killing heat of the desert day, sealed and waiting, and the scorpion enduring the killing cold of a freeze, chilled to stillness and surviving it. The same ancient design holding the line against extremes at both ends of the world. It is part of what has carried the scorpion through 400 million years, and every catastrophe within them, a body so resilient, so deeply built to endure, that neither the fiercest heat nor the hardest cold can reliably finish it. The oldest survivor does not merely tolerate the desert, it tolerates, it seems, almost everything. For an animal of the dry desert, the scorpion has one more improbable trick: it can survive being submerged underwater completely for an astonishingly long time. Scorpions have been known to survive being submerged in water for many hours, and in some accounts, even for days, emerging alive after a span of submersion that would drown almost any air-breathing land animal. Held underwater, a creature that breathes air and lives in the driest places on Earth simply waits and lives. The secret lies in the scorpion's strange, slow physiology. Its book lungs, with their stacked passive pages, and its remarkably low demand for oxygen, allow it to dramatically slow its already minimal metabolism, reducing its need for air to almost nothing. Sealed in its waterproof cuticle, asking for barely any oxygen, the scorpion can effectively shut itself down and ride out the submersion, surviving on next to nothing until the water recedes and air returns. In some cases, the trapped air against its body and within its breathing structures may sustain it. In others, it is simply the animal's profound ability to slow itself towards stillness that carries it through. This ability serves a real purpose in the wild. Deserts, for all their dryness, are subject to sudden floods, flash floods that can fill a burrow with water in moments, drowning the creatures within. A scorpion able to survive submersion can endure such a flood, waiting out the water in its flooded shelter and emerging alive once it drains away. Picture the desert's driest hunter, sealed in its armor, lying motionless beneath the floodwater, its whole body slowed nearly to stopping, waiting in the dark, wet silence for hours or days until the water is gone, and then simply walking out alive as though nothing had happened. Heat could not stop it. Cold could not stop it. Radiation could not stop it. And the flood, too, finds the scorpion already equipped to outlast it. We picture the scorpion in one place, the desert, the dune, the dry and burning sand. But the scorpion is far more widespread than that single image suggests, and its true range is a quiet marvel of adaptability. Scorpions live almost everywhere on land. They are found on every continent except Antarctica, across an astonishing variety of environments. Yes, the deserts, but also the rainforests, where scorpions live amid the heat and damp of the jungle floor. The mountains, where they endure thin air and cold at considerable elevation. Then the grasslands, the savannas, the scrublands. Even caves, where some species live in perpetual darkness deep underground. From the driest deserts to the wettest forests, from sea level to high mountain slopes, the scorpion has found a way to make a living. This range tells us something important about the animal. It is not a narrow specialist locked to a single kind of place. It is a profoundly adaptable survivor, its ancient body plan and frugal, patient way of life proving flexible enough to succeed across a vast spread of the world's environments. The same fundamental design, the sealed shell, the patient ambush, the venomous strike, the low metabolic burn works in the desert and the rainforest alike, in the mountains and the caves, wherever there is prey to catch and shelter to hide in. Picture the scorpion not as a creature of one harsh place, but as a presence woven quietly across nearly the whole of the land, hidden in the cracks of 1,000 different worlds, surviving in environments that seem to share nothing with one another. The same ancient hunter, adapting its single timeless strategy to desert heat and jungle damp and mountain cold and the lightless deep of caves. It is one of the most widespread predators on Earth, and one of the least seen, present almost everywhere, noticed almost nowhere. An old and adaptable survivor, hidden in the dark of countless different lands. The scorpion's reach extends not only across the world's surface, but upward into the high and hostile country of the mountains, where the air thins and the cold bites and life grows hard. Some scorpions live at remarkably high elevations, found far up mountain slopes, in conditions that seem deeply unsuited to a creature we associate with desert warmth. There are records of scorpions living thousands of meters above sea level, high in the mountains, enduring the cold nights, the thin air, and the harsh conditions of elevation. To survive so high is no small thing. The mountains demand tolerance for cold that would kill many desert creatures, for the brutal swings between sun-warmed day and freezing night, for an environment far less forgiving than the warm lowlands. And yet there, too high on the cold slopes, the scorpion persists, adapted, enduring, hunting its patient way through a world of stone and altitude. It is one more testament to the animal's extraordinary range and resilience. The same lineage that produced creatures able to survive drought, flood, radiation, and freezing has also produced species able to make a home in the high mountains where few would expect to find them. The scorpion's adaptability is not a vague generality, it is written into real animals living in real extremes high above the deserts we imagine as their only home. Picture a scorpion not on warm sand, but on a cold mountain slope thousands of meters up, the air thin and the night freezing, the warm lowland deserts far below and out of sight, and the scorpion enduring there, all the same, hunting and surviving in the high cold, the way its relatives endure. The low heat, ancient design, proving once more that there are very few corners of the land too harsh, too high, or too hostile for some scorpion somewhere to have made its own. The scorpions vary enormously in size, and at the small end of that range, live creatures so tiny they overturn every expectation of what a scorpion is. The smallest scorpions are remarkably minute, some of the tiniest species, measuring well under an inch, small enough to rest comfortably on a fingertip, easily mistaken for something far less than a scorpion at all. These miniature hunters carry the full design in miniature: the pincers, the tail, the sting, the patient ambush, all of it compressed into a body smaller than a coin, a perfect tiny replica of their larger relatives. They hunt the smallest prey, hide in the smallest cracks, and live their entire patient lives at a scale that the eye can easily miss entirely. Picture the whole apparatus of the scorpion: the armored shell, the venomous tail, the grasping claws, the 400-million-year-old hunter's body shrunk down until it would sit on the tip of your finger, with room to spare a creature so small you might never notice it crossing your hand. And understand that it is no less a scorpion for its size. It carries the same ancient weapons, the same patient strategy, the same deep lineage as the largest of its kind, simply written small. There is something quietly wonderful in this range, that the same fundamental design works at the scale of a grain of rice and at the scale of a human hand, that evolution has stretched and shrunk the scorpion's blueprint across such a big, vast span of sizes, while keeping its essence intact. The smallest scorpion and the largest are unmistakably the same kind of creature, separated by size alone, each a variation on a theme so successful it has endured almost unchanged through ages beyond counting. To hold the smallest is to hold the whole ancient story of the scorpion, complete in every detail, resting weightless on your fingertip. At the other end of the scale stand the giants of the living scorpions, creatures large enough to command genuine awe when you see one in the flesh. The largest living scorpions can reach around 8 inches in length, a span that fills the palm and overflows it. A creature substantial enough to look less like an insect and more like a small armored animal in its own right. Among the most famous of these is the emperor scorpion, a massive, glossy, dark-bodied scorpion of the West African rainforests, one of the largest in the world, its great pincers and heavy build making it one of the most imposing of all scorpions to behold. To hold one of these largest species is to feel the real weight and presence of the animal: the heavy claws, the thick tail, the dark armored bulk of a hunter grown to the upper limit of its kind. These are the scorpions that most fully match our mental image of the creature: large, dark, formidable, the raised tail and spread pincers presenting a silhouette of pure menace. And yet, as we will see, the largest are not always the most dangerous, for in the scorpion size and lethality often run in opposite directions. Picture the span of the living scorpions laid out side by side at one end, the tiny species resting weightless on a fingertip. At the other, the great 8-inch giants, filling an entire palm with their dark armored weight. And between them, every size, in between 2,500 species, ranged across an enormous spread of scale. The same ancient design, the same patient hunter, expressed from the nearly invisible to the genuinely imposing. The largest scorpions are the ones that stop you in your tracks, that draw the eye and quicken the pulse, that look every bit the ancient predator. They are the full grandeur of the scorpion's design, grown large enough to hold in the hand and impossible to ignore. The emperor scorpion looks like the most fearsome thing in the room, and is in truth one of the gentlest scorpions of all. Here lies one of the great paradoxes of the animal. The emperor scorpion is enormous, dark and heavily armed, with massive pincers and an imposing build that makes it look like the deadliest creature imaginable. And yet its venom is mild. A sting from an emperor scorpion is typically no worse than a bee sting to a healthy person, far from the lethal chemistry of its smaller, more dangerous relatives. This great dark giant is, for all its fearsome appearance, a relatively harmless animal. The reason lies in those huge pincers. The emperor scorpion subdues its prey primarily by brute force, crushing it in its powerful claws, and so it has little need for potent venom. Its strength does the work that poison does for others. This is the broad rule of the scorpion world, written large in the emperor: heavy pincers, mild venom, thin pincers, deadly venom. The most physically powerful scorpions tend to be the least venomous, and the most venomous tend to be the slight, delicate clawed killers that cannot win by strength. Because of its size, its striking appearance, and its gentle nature, the emperor scorpion has become one of the most familiar scorpions to people, calm enough to be handled, impressive enough to fascinate a creature that looks like a monster and behaves like almost the opposite. Picture the great dark emperor scorpion, large enough to fill a palm, its huge claws and heavy tail presenting an image of pure danger, and understand that this imposing giant carries a sting milder than a bee's, that its menace is mostly in its looks, that the most fearsome-seeming scorpion of all is among the most harmless. It is a lesson the scorpion teaches again and again, that in this ancient family, appearance and danger so often run exactly opposite, and the deadliest hunters are rarely the ones that look the part. Step back one final time to the very largest view, and the scorpion's endurance takes on a scale almost beyond meaning. For this is a lineage so old it has outlasted not just creatures and catastrophes, but the very arrangement of the world itself. When scorpions first appeared, the continents were not where they are now. Across the hundreds of millions of years of the scorpion's existence, the land masses of the Earth have drifted, collided, merged into vast supercontinents, and broken apart again, the whole face of the planet slowly rearranging itself. Oceans opening, where land had been, mountains rising from flat ground, the map of the world remade and remade again, and through all of it the scorpion endured. It walked the supercontinents when they were joined, and walked the separated lands when they drifted apart. The same patient armored creature persisted while the very ground beneath it was carried thousands of miles across the surface of the Earth, while seas were born and closed, while the geography of the entire planet transformed beneath its feet. Few living things can claim a history that spans such deep geological change, a lineage old enough to have witnessed in its long, unbroken existence the continents themselves in motion. Picture the immensity of it, a creature so ancient that the world it was born into is literally gone, its lands scattered and rearranged into the continents we know today. An animal that persisted not through years or centuries, but through the slow, vast drift of the Earth's own crust, outlasting the very shape of the planet. The scorpion did not merely survive its time, it survived the remaking of the world again and again, carrying its unchanged design across a planet that would not stay still beneath it. And it is here still, in our gardens and deserts and forests, this small, dark hunter under the rock, a living witness to a history so deep that the continents themselves have moved while it watched and walked and waited and endured. We have traveled the scorpion's body, its behavior, its endurance. Now we step back to ask what it all means, and the first answer is a matter of time itself. The scorpion is one of the oldest living examples of a complex land animal, a survivor from so deep in the past that it serves as a kind of living anchor to the early history of life on Earth. To look at a scorpion is to look at a form that has persisted in essence since near the dawn of animal life on land. It is a window into an ancient world, a creature whose basic design was forged in an era so distant that almost nothing else from that time survives in recognizable form. In the great sprawling tree of life, with all its branches blooming and withering across the eons, the scorpion is one of the old deep limbs that never broke, running unbroken from the ancient past all the way to the present day. This gives the animal a significance beyond its size or its venom. It is a thread of continuity reaching back through hundreds of millions of years, a line of living creatures connecting our present moment to a world we can barely imagine. When you see a scorpion, you are seeing not just an animal, but a survivor of deep time, a form that has held steady while almost everything else changed beyond recognition or vanished entirely. Picture the whole vast history of life as a single, great, unfolding ages, piling upon ages, countless creatures rising and falling away into extinction. And through all of it, one quiet, patient, armored shape persisting from very near the beginning, walking still through the world it has outlasted so many others to reach. The scorpion's place in deep time is not a footnote. It is among the longest continuous stories that life on land has to tell, and it is being told right now in the dark by an animal that has simply refused across an unimaginable span of years to stop. The scorpion does not stand alone in deep time. It belongs to an ancient and storied family, and understanding its relatives places it within one of the oldest and most successful lineages on Earth. The scorpion is an arachnid kin to the spiders, the mites, the ticks, and the harvestmen, all members of that great class of eight-legged creatures. Look at a spider and a scorpion side by side, and beneath the obvious differences you can see the shared deep design, the 8 legs, the body built in segments, the chelicerae at the mouth, the way of sensing and living in the world. They are branches of the same ancient bough, but the scorpion's relations reach further still to creatures even stranger and older. Among its distant relatives are the horseshoe crabs, those ancient, helmet-shaped survivors of the sea themselves, living fossils that have endured nearly unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, sharing with the scorpion that same deep arthropod ancestry and that same astonishing persistence through time. And further back lie the eurypterids, the great extinct sea scorpions, the giant aquatic relatives that once ruled ancient waters. Together, these creatures form a portrait of an ancient and enduring lineage, the arachnids, and their kin among the oldest and most resilient branches of animal life, with the scorpion as one of its most ancient living members. Picture the scorpion within this great family of survivors, cousin to the spider in the web, distant kin to the horseshoe crab on the ancient shore, descendant of the giant sea scorpions of the deep past, all of them branches of a lineage that reaches back to the very early days of complex life, and that has produced some of the most durable, most persistent creatures the world has ever known. The scorpion is not a curiosity standing apart. It is a living member of one of life's great old dynasties, a family of survivors, and among the most enduring of them all. For all its ancient grandeur, the scorpion is also a working part of the living world right now, a vital thread in the web of the ecosystems it inhabits, holding a place that matters far beyond itself. As a predator, the scorpion is a significant force. It hunts insects, spiders, and other small creatures in great numbers, helping to control the populations of the animals it preys upon. In the deserts and other environments where scorpions are abundant, they are among the important predators of the small creatures of the night, their patient hunting shaping the balance of life around them. Remove the scorpions and the creatures they keep in check would surge unchecked. The scorpion's quiet predation is part of what holds its ecosystem in balance. But the scorpion is not only a hunter, it is also hunted, and in that role it matters just as much. Scorpions are prey for a wide range of animals. Owls, bats, birds, lizards, snakes, and many small mammals depend on them as a source of food. The scorpion, abundant and nourishing, feeds a great many other creatures. Passing the energy of the insects it consumes up the food chain to the larger animals that consume it in turn. It sits in the middle of the web, both predator and prey, both consumer and consumed. This dual role makes the scorpion an essential part of its world. It is not a mere curiosity of the desert, a venomous oddity to be feared and otherwise ignored. It is a load-bearing strand in the fabric of its ecosystem, controlling the small creatures below it, feeding the larger creatures above it, woven into the flow of life and energy that sustains the whole. Picture the desert at night, not as an empty waste, but as a living system, every creature connected to every other, and the scorpion at the heart of it, catching and being caught, feeding and being fed upon an ancient hunter, doing the quiet, essential work of holding its world together, as it has for longer than almost anything else alive. Here the scorpion's story takes its most unexpected turn. The very venom that makes it feared, that ancient chemical weapon refined across hundreds of millions of years, is becoming one of the most promising frontiers in modern medicine. Scorpion venom, we have seen, is not a single poison, but a vast library of distinct compounds. Each one a molecule precisely shaped to interact with some specific part of an animal's body, a nerve channel, a muscle, a cell. And it is exactly that precision that makes it so valuable to medicine. Each of those hundreds of compounds is a finely targeted tool, and some of them scientists are discovering can be turned toward healing rather than harm. Researchers around the world are studying scorpion venom intensively, mapping its compounds and testing them for medical use. The same chemistry evolved to jam a nervous system or stop a heart contains molecules that may properly understood and harnessed treat human disease. Compounds being investigated for pain relief, for disorders of the immune system, for infections, and, most strikingly of all, for cancer. The scorpion's venom has become a kind of natural pharmacy, a source of novel molecules that human chemistry has never invented on its own, waiting to be read and put to use. There is a deep irony in this, and a kind of poetry. The animal we have feared for all of human history, the killer of the dark, the bringer of pain, its deadliest possession, may turn out to be one of its greatest gifts. Picture the long arc of it, hundreds of millions of years of evolution, refining a venom for killing, and now, in our own brief moment, humans learning to read that ancient chemistry and turn it towards saving lives instead. The scorpion did not make its venom for us, but in studying the thing that made it so dangerous, we may find some of the medicine that helps us heal, the oldest weapon on land becoming in our hands something new. Of all the medical promise locked in scorpion venom, one possibility stands out as almost miraculous: the discovery that certain scorpion toxins can find cancer. Among the many compounds in scorpion venom, researchers have identified molecules with a remarkable property. They bind specifically to certain cancer cells while largely ignoring the healthy cells around them. One compound, derived from the death stalker, that most lethal of scorpions, has been studied for its ability to target particular tumor cells, including the cells of certain deadly brain cancers. The toxin seeks out the cancer with a precision that has astonished researchers. This precision is the key to its promise. One of the great challenges in treating cancer is telling the cancer cells apart from the healthy ones, finding and attacking the tumor without harming the body around it. A molecule that naturally homes in on cancer cells could become a way to do exactly that. Scientists have explored using such scorpion-derived compounds to carry imaging agents that light up tumors for surgeons, marking the exact edges of a cancer so it can be removed completely, a so-called tumor paint that makes the cancer glow, guiding the surgeon's hand. Other research investigates using these toxins to deliver treatment directly to the cancer cells they find. The work is ongoing and much remains to be proven, but the promise is extraordinary. Picture it: the venom of the deadliest scorpion on Earth, the death stalker, the pale killer of the desert. Its chemistry repurposed to find and illuminate human cancer, to guide a surgeon through the most delicate operation, to carry healing precisely to where it is needed most. The same molecule evolved to kill turned to the work of saving. There is no stranger or more hopeful turn in the whole story of the scorpion than this, that humanity's oldest animal enemy may carry in the very poison we fear a key to fighting one of our own deadliest diseases. The medical promise of scorpion venom reaches beyond cancer into one of the most universal of human burdens, pain itself, and the search for new ways to ease it. Because so much of scorpion venom works by acting on the nervous system, on the precise channels and signals that carry sensation through the body, it is a natural place to look for new ways to control pain. The same molecules that can cause agony by overstimulating nerves can, in other forms or other doses, potentially be used to block pain instead, interrupting the very signals they evolved to inflame. Researchers are studying scorpion-derived compounds as the basis for new painkillers, hoping to develop drugs that target pain with greater precision and fewer side effects than existing medicines. In a world where pain relief too often comes with serious costs, addiction tolerance, dangerous side effects, the prospect of new pain medicines drawn from the finely targeted chemistry of venom is deeply appealing, and pain is only one frontier. Scorpion venom compounds are being investigated for an expanding range of medical uses as potential treatments for autoimmune disorders, where the body attacks itself, as antimicrobial agents that might fight bacteria resistant to our existing drugs, as tools to study and perhaps treat disorders of the heart and the nervous system. Each compound is a precise key, and researchers are working to discover which locks in the human body it might fit. Picture the long labor of it, scientists in laboratories around the world, patiently isolating molecule after molecule from the venom of the scorpion, testing each one, learning what it does, searching for the rare ones that might become medicine. The scorpion's venom is a vast and ancient library, most of its pages still unread, and humanity has only begun to study it. What healing might lie waiting in those unread pages? In the chemistry of an animal we have feared for all of time, we are only now beginning to find out, and the search has barely started. We return near the end to the strangest thing about the scorpion, the cold blue-green glow it casts under ultraviolet light, a mystery that remains genuinely, stubbornly unsolved. We understand the mechanism completely. Compounds in the scorpion's exoskeleton absorb ultraviolet light and re-emit it as visible fluorescence, and that part is settled science. What we do not understand, what no one has been able to prove, is why. What is the glow for? Does it serve the scorpion at all? After all our study, the honest answer remains we are not sure. The theories, as we have seen, are many. Perhaps the glow helps scorpions find one another. Perhaps the scorpion uses its whole fluorescent body as a kind of light sensor, gauging how much ultraviolet light is in the night sky to decide whether to come out and hunt. Perhaps it confuses or deters predators. Perhaps it is simply an accident of the chemistry of the cuticle, a side effect that serves no purpose at all. Scientists continue to debate it, and no single explanation has won out. It is a rare and wonderful thing, a question this basic, about a feature this universal, in an animal this well-known, still genuinely open. Every scorpion on Earth glows, and we cannot say for certain why any of them do. There is something fitting in this, that the oldest survivor on land should hold on to a mystery this deep, this close to the surface, this unsolved. We have mapped its venom and traced its lineage across hundreds of millions of years, and still the scorpion keeps one of its plainest secrets to itself. Picture the desert at night, under an ultraviolet lamp, the ground suddenly scattered with cold, glowing shapes, every scorpion shining its silent blue-green light into the dark, and understand that no one watching, no scientist, no expert, can tell you for certain what that glow is for. The scorpion shines, as it has for ages beyond counting, and keeps the reason to itself. Long before any laboratory studied its venom or puzzled over its glow, the scorpion had already taken a powerful hold on the human imagination, and that hold runs through our myths, our medicine, and even the stars. Across the ancient world, the scorpion appears again and again as a creature of deep significance. In old Egypt, the scorpion was sacred, associated with a protective goddess called upon to guard against the very stings her creatures could deliver, a being who embodied both the danger and the cure. The scorpion appears in the myths and symbols of cultures across the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Americas, woven into stories of protection and peril, of poison and healing, of death and rebirth. It served in many traditions as a symbol of transformation and of the hidden threat that waits unseen. In old systems of medicine, the scorpion itself was sometimes used as a remedy. Its body, even its venom, employed in traditional treatments across many cultures, hold the power to heal. The same creature feared as a killer was turned by human hands toward medicine thousands of years before modern science would confirm the instinct. The scorpion's grip on us has always carried this double nature, fear and reverence, poison and cure, the thing that kills and the thing that might save. Picture the long span of human history and the scorpion present throughout it, carved into ancient temples, named in old stories, used in early medicine, feared in the dark and revered in the light. No small creature has held our imagination longer or more deeply. And of all the places the scorpion has been set by human hands, none is more enduring than the one place it has been fixed forever. The sky itself, where it waits among the stars, as we will see. Of all the marks the scorpion has left on human culture, the greatest and most permanent is written across the night sky itself, a constellation that has carried the creature's shape through thousands of years of human history. High overhead, among the oldest and most recognizable of all the constellations, lies Scorpius, the scorpion traced in stars. It is one of the few constellations that genuinely resembles the creature it is named, for its curving line of bright stars sweeping down and around into a distinct curl, the very image of a scorpion's raised and arcing tail. At its heart burns a brilliant red star, marking in the old imagination the scorpion's beating heart. The ancient Greeks told of how this scorpion was sent to slay the great hunter Orion, and how the two were placed in the heavens on opposite sides of the sky, so that as the scorpion rises, the hunter flees below the horizon, the two eternally chasing never to meet. But the constellation is far older than the Greeks. Cultures across the ancient world, separated by oceans and ages, looked up at that same curl of stars and saw again and again a scorpion. The shape so suggestive, so unmistakable, that civilization after civilization independently named it for the creature on the ground below. For as long as humans have looked up and made meaning of the stars, the scorpion has been there among them, fixed in the heavens, wheeling overhead through every night of recorded history. Picture the immense span of it, countless generations of humans across every age and every land, looking up into the dark and seeing the scorpion traced in fire across the sky, the same shape their ancestors saw, the same shape we see tonight. The creature that hides in the cracks of the earth also blazes across the heavens, and has, for all of human memory, an ancient animal made eternal in starlight, gazed upon by every generation that has ever wondered at the night. The relationship between humans and scorpions is not only one of fear and reverence in many parts of the world, it is also one of remarkable practical use, the scorpion serving as both food and medicine. In several cultures, particularly across parts of Asia, scorpions are eaten prepared, as food sold in markets, served fried or roasted, the venom rendered harmless by cooking. In some places they are an everyday street food, in others a delicacy or a novelty. The same creature feared for its sting becomes on the plate simply another source of nourishment, its armored body a meal like any other once the danger of the living animal is removed. And in traditional medicine, the scorpion has long held a place of real importance. Across many cultures, scorpions have been used for centuries in traditional remedies, believed to treat a range of ailments, the whole animal or its venom incorporated into preparations meant to heal rather than harm. This ancient practice reflects an old and intuitive understanding arrived at long before modern science that the scorpion's potent chemistry might be turned toward healing. And in a striking convergence, modern medicine is now confirming what those old traditions sensed, that scorpion venom truly does contain compounds of genuine medical value, validating in its own way the long human intuition that this dangerous creature held something useful within it. Picture the full breadth of the human relationship with the scorpion, feared in the dark, revered in myth, fixed among the stars, eaten in the market, and used as medicine across the ages. A single small creature woven into nearly every dimension of human life, from the kitchen to the temple, to the pharmacy to the sky. Few animals have touched us in so many ways. The scorpion is not merely something we fear, it is something we have lived alongside, learned from, and made use of, for as long as there have been humans to encounter it. The scorpion's story is not finished, and one of its newest chapters is being written right now by a changing climate that is reshaping where these ancient creatures can live. Scorpions are deeply tied to temperature. As creatures that depend on warmth, their distribution across the world is shaped by climate, and as the world's climate shifts, the ranges where scorpions can survive are shifting with it. As temperatures rise and warm conditions extend into regions that were once too cool, scorpions may expand their territory, moving into new areas, appearing in places where they were once rare or absent. Scientists studying the question suggest that climate change could expand the range of some scorpion species, pushing them into territory previously closed to them by cold. For the regions affected, this carries real consequences. Areas that have never had to contend with scorpions, or never with the more dangerous kinds, could find these animals becoming more common, bringing the ancient concerns of scorpion country, the shaken-out shoes, and the checked bedding, into new lands. The most ancient of survivors, it turns out, may be among the creatures poised to spread as the world warms. There is a strange resonance in this. The scorpion has endured every great climate upheaval of the past 400 million years, the ice ages and the warm ages, the slow swings of deep time. Now it faces another, this one, driven by human hands, and once again the adaptable, hardy, undemanding scorpion seems likely not merely to endure it, but in places to benefit from it. Picture the long view. An animal that has survived every shift the planet's climate has ever thrown at it, meeting this newest shift with the same deep resilience. Its range redrawn once more, its territory expanding into a warming world, the oldest survivor adjusting as it always has to the changing face of the earth. We are reshaping the world, and the scorpion, as ever, is adapting to whatever we make of it. For all that we have learned about the scorpion, the truth is that we have not yet met them all, and somewhere out in the world's wild places scorpions wait that no human has ever named. We know of around 2,500 species of scorpion, but scientists are confident that this is not the whole picture, that many more species remain undiscovered, living in remote and difficult places, waiting to be found. New scorpion species are described regularly, year after year, as researchers explore poorly studied regions, examine overlooked habitats, and look more closely at populations once thought to be a single kind. The full diversity of the scorpion is still being uncovered. They hide in hard-to-reach places, deep in caves, high on remote mountains, in dense forests, and isolated deserts, in corners of the world where few biologists have ever searched. Each such place may hold scorpions, found nowhere else, lineages quietly persisting in isolation, unknown to science simply because no one has yet looked in the right dark crack. Every year the count grows, and every year it becomes clearer that the scorpion is more various, more widespread, and more full of surprises than we had realized. There is something humbling in this. An animal this ancient, this widespread, this woven into human culture for thousands of years, and still we have not finished cataloguing its kinds. Still the world holds scorpions we have never seen. Picture the unexplored places of the earth, the unmapped caves, the remote peaks, the deep forests, and somewhere within them, scorpions going about their ancient, patient lives, hunting and hiding and glowing in the dark, entire species that have never been named, never been studied, never been known to exist. The scorpion's full story is still being written, still being discovered, an ancient creature that even now has not finished revealing how many forms it takes. We have spoken of the medical promise locked in scorpion venom, but the full scale of that promise is something we are only beginning to grasp because the venom itself remains even now largely unexplored. Consider the numbers. There are around 2,500 known scorpion species, with more being discovered all the time. And each species produces its own venom, a complex mixture that may contain hundreds of distinct compounds, many of them unique to that species alone. Multiply it out and the scale becomes staggering. Potentially hundreds of thousands, even millions of distinct venom compounds spread across all the world's scorpions. A chemical library of almost unimaginable size. And we have studied only a tiny fraction of it. Scientists estimate that only a very small percentage of all scorpion venom compounds have been identified and studied so far. The overwhelming majority remain completely unknown molecules that have never been isolated, never been named, never been tested, waiting in the venom glands of scorpions across the world. Each one is a potential tool, a potential medicine, a potential key to some lock in the human body, and almost all of them are still undiscovered. This is why researchers speak of scorpion venom as a frontier. It is not a resource we have exhausted, but one we have barely begun to explore, a vast, mostly unread library of natural chemistry refined by hundreds of millions of years of evolution. holding untold numbers of compounds whose uses we cannot yet even guess. Picture the immensity of what remains unknown in the tail of every scorpion, a chemistry largely unmapped. Across all the world's scorpions, a pharmacy of millions of molecules, the vast majority never studied. The medicines we have already found in scorpion venom may be only the faintest beginning. What else waits there, undiscovered in the venom of an animal we have feared for all of time? We cannot yet say only that the library is enormous, and we have read almost none of it. The scorpion's unsolved glow is more than a curiosity. It is a reminder, and perhaps a promise, that even our oldest and most familiar creatures still hold lessons we have not yet learned. We do not know why the scorpion glows, but the fluorescence, mysterious as its purpose remains, has already proven useful to us in unexpected ways and may yet prove more so. Because every scorpion glows under ultraviolet light, the fluorescence has transformed how we find and study them. Researchers walk the night with ultraviolet lamps, and scorpions that would be utterly invisible flare into view, allowing scientists to locate, count, and study them in ways that would otherwise be impossible. A mystery we cannot explain has become a practical tool for understanding the animal that carries it. And the deeper questions the glow raises may teach us more still. Understanding exactly what the fluorescent compounds are, how they work, and why they exist could shed light on the chemistry and evolution of the scorpion's remarkable cuticle, that tough, sealed, ancient armor that has helped the animal survive so much. The same compounds that make the scorpion glow are part of the shell that has carried it through 400 million years, and learning their secrets may teach us about resilience, about materials, about the deep chemistry of survival itself. There is a lesson in the glow that goes beyond the glow. It tells us that even an animal, this ancient, this common, this thoroughly part of our world and our imagination, still holds genuine mysteries, that there are things to learn, even in the most familiar dark corners, secrets kept by creatures we thought we knew. Picture the scorpion shining its silent, unexplained light into the night, a mystery hundreds of millions of years old glowing right in front of us. And understand that in that glow lies a quiet invitation, a reminder that the world is still full of things we do not understand, waiting even now, even in the oldest survivor on land, to be discovered. We come now to the thought that gives the scorpion's whole story its deepest weight, the quiet, almost certain likelihood that this ancient creature will still be here long after we are gone. The scorpion has survived for around 400 million years. It has endured every mass extinction the planet has thrown at life, including catastrophes that erased the overwhelming majority of all living things. It has outlasted the dinosaurs, the giant sea scorpions, and countless other creatures that rose, ruled, and vanished. It has survived drought, flood, freezing, radiation, and the slow drift of the continents themselves. By every measure, the scorpion is among the most durable forms of life that has ever existed. And we, humanity, are by comparison astonishingly new. Our entire species has existed for a flicker of time set beside the scorpion's vast tenure, the merest sliver at the very end of its long story. We have been here for an eye blink. The scorpion has been here for an age. Given that record of resilience, that ability to endure almost anything, to need almost nothing, to adapt and persist through catastrophe after catastrophe, it is entirely reasonable to believe that the scorpion will outlast us. That whatever becomes of humanity, however our own brief story ends, the scorpion will very likely still be here, hunting its patient way through the dark, as it was long before we arrived, and will be long after we are gone. There is something humbling in this, almost beyond words. We think of ourselves as the masters of the earth, the dominant creatures, the rulers of the world, and yet sharing that world with us is a small, silent, armored animal that was ancient before we existed, and will, in all likelihood, endure long after we have passed, outlasting our cities, our works, our entire span, with the same quiet patience it has carried through 400 million years. The scorpion does not know that we are here, and one distant day, in all likelihood, it will not know that we ever were. For all that the scorpion has taught us, it remains in profound ways a creature of unanswered questions, and that too is part of its weight, part of what it means. We do not know why it glows. We do not fully understand how it navigates the dark back to its burrow. We do not know how many species there are, or what secrets lie in the vast unread library of its venom. We do not fully understand how it endures radiation that should kill it, or freezing that should destroy it, or how its ancient body has held so nearly unchanged across such an unimaginable span of time. The scorpion is one of the most studied and most familiar of creatures, and still it is wrapped in mystery. There is a humility in this that the scorpion seems almost to insist upon. Here is an animal we have known for all of human history, feared and revered and eaten and used as medicine, fixed in our myths and our stars, and yet when we look closely it still refuses to give up all its secrets. It reminds us how much remains unknown, even in the most ordinary seeming corners of the living world. How much waits to be discovered in a creature we might otherwise dismiss as a simple venomous pest. Perhaps that is part of what the scorpion has to teach us, that the world is deeper and stranger than we assume. That even the oldest and most familiar things still hold questions we cannot answer, that wonder is not reserved for the rare and the distant, but waits too, in the cracks of the desert floor. Picture the scorpion as a kind of living question, ancient and patient, carrying its mysteries through the dark, and understand that to truly look at it is not to feel that we have it figured out, but to feel instead the vast and humbling extent of all we still do not know about the small, old, enduring creatures with whom we share the earth. Step back finally to the largest thought of all and ask what it truly means that a creature has survived for 400 million years. The number is so vast it resists comprehension. So consider what it represents. It means the scorpion has endured through a span of time in which entire worlds of life have risen and vanished, in which the continents have rearranged themselves, in which the climate has swung from ice to fire and back again many times over, in which catastrophe after catastrophe has nearly ended life on Earth. Through all of it, every disaster, every upheaval, every transformation of the planet itself, the scorpion has simply continued. 400 million years of survival is not a matter of luck. It is the result of a way of being so robust, so frugal, so perfectly suited to endurance that almost nothing the world can do is enough to end it. The scorpion survives by needing little, by enduring much, by adapting where it must and holding steady where it can. It is the embodiment of persistence itself, of life's astonishing capacity to keep going against every obstacle across spans of time we can barely imagine. And there is a lesson in that endurance that reaches beyond the animal. The scorpion shows us that survival, true survival across deep time, does not belong to the largest, the fiercest, or the most powerful. The giant sea scorpions are gone. The dinosaurs are gone. The mightiest creatures of so many ages have vanished. It is the small, the patient, the adaptable, the undemanding that has lasted, the creature that learned to wait, to need little, to endure. 400 million years of survival means in the end that there is a kind of strength in patience and humility that outlasts every kind of might. Picture the whole vast sweep of life on Earth, ages beyond counting, and at the end of it still here, this small armored survivor, and understand that what it really means is this, that quiet endurance in the long run is the most powerful force of all. And so we come to the end, back to where we began, to the desert at night, the cooling sand, the still air above quiet ground, and somewhere in the dark, motionless, patient, ancient beyond imagining, the scorpion. It is out there right now. As you hear these words, somewhere in the warm, dark places of the world, scorpions are waiting, tails curled, senses open, reading the trembling of the ground, hunting the patient way they have hunted for 400 million years. They were here before the dinosaurs. They were here before the forests, before the flowers before us. And they are here still unchanged, enduring, glowing their silent, unexplained light into a dark that has belonged to them since long before our kind first looked up and feared them. We have learned so much about this creature, its venom and its body, its patience and its endurance, its place in the deep history of life and its possible place in the medicine of our future. And still, it keeps its mysteries. Still it glows for reasons we cannot name. Still it waits, as it has always waited, indifferent to us, older than our oldest story, more enduring than anything we have built or will build. There is a strange comfort in that, and a strange humility. We share our world for our brief and noisy moment with a creature that has mastered the art of simply continuing, of being small and patient and durable, and quietly, relentlessly alive. The hunter in the dark asks nothing of us. It does not know we are here. It only waits, and endures and persists as it has through ages beyond our grasp, and will through ages beyond our reach. So the next time you stand in the dark of a warm night somewhere beneath the curl of stars that bears its name, consider the scorpion out there, still in the silence, in the dark, the oldest survivor on land, hunting its ancient patient way through a world it has outlasted so much to reach, and will in all likelihood outlast us all to keep. It was here before we came, and it will be here, still waiting, still shining, still enduring, long after we are gone. All 5 stages delivered in full arc, intact, dread, uncanny, wonder, wait. The outline contract has been fulfilled. Every headline angle, from the approved outline, appears in its matching section. The emotional arc lengthens and slows from stage 4 onward, as specified, and Fact 100 closes on the open. Reflective thought the structure calls for. A note on faithfulness to the science. I kept the genuinely contested or uncertain claims flagged as such throughout the purpose of the glow. Navigation cues, venom modulation, climate-driven range expansion, and kept the headline figures 400 million years, around 2,500. Species the Deathstalker's tumor-targeting compound. The radiation and submersion resilience within what's broadly supported. If you'd like, I can tighten any specific fact against a current source, adjust pacing in a particular batch, or prepare a clean version with the internal batch notes and outline, quote, headers stripped out for direct handoff to your TTS tool.